All right. It is 7:00 and it is June 29th. This is a special meeting of the Clayton City Council. We'll call to order, and we will ask Janet to please call the roll.
Councilmember Diaz.
Present.
Councilmember Tillman.
Here.
Councilmember Juan.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cloven.
I am here.
Mayor Wolf.
Here. And we are all here. All right. So we are now going to go to our meeting protocol video.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being webcast on the City of Clayton's website. The mayor will call upon its council, presenters, staff, and other speakers by name and ask that they speak clearly and state their name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via webcast and Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members of the public participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. Telephone attendees will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their name, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received by Clayton City Clerk by 5 p.m. today will be entered into the record, but will not be read out loud. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they are free to do so and should raise their hand, and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. The chat feature is not active. In order to get the full Zoom experience, please make sure your application is up to date.
All right. Moving on now to the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll ask, as always, Councilmember Diaz to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. Appreciate that. All right, we're moving on now to item number 4, which is our consent calendar. Quite a few items on the consent calendar. Does anybody want to talk about anything? Well, anything? Okay, go to the Jim. Did you want? No. I can't hear you, Jim. Sorry.
And again, there, is that better?
There you go.
Okay, I'm not pulling any item, but I do want to make a comment relative to item 4G, in that I've talked in depth with the city manager as well as the chief of police regarding this new agreement, and it is a marvelous agreement, and it extends our police department negotiations for another 3 years. It gives them some good increases. Plus, I want to point out one thing in there that it does. It provides a extra compensation for a bilingual officer. And we just so happen to have hired a new one, a wonderful young lady who is Spanish and is very fluent in Spanish. So that'll be a very helpful addition to the city. And she will be able to communicate with anybody in the community that needs to speak in Spanish. And I think it's a very good contract and agreement, and look forward to having the police department in good hands for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to public comment and see anybody.
I have a question for item H.
Yes, go ahead.
Item H talks about the local streets and roads, and it kind of describes them at a high level. Are those listed specifically somewhere, or the ones that are being included?
Yes, they are the same that have been listed for that project for the past year, and I don't immediately have that in front of me, but I'm sure that I can get those to you. They were listed in last year's CIP. We don't have the 5-year CIP detail this year, but it's the same streets that were part of this current year's that we were hoping to get done, but haven't gotten done in time.
Okay. Yeah, it would be good to have those detailed out if we could have those added to the minutes
Sure.
when we take them.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll go to public comment now. Do we have anyone who wants to make a public comment on the consent calendar?
Mayor Wolf, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Okay, then we'll close the public comment and bring it back for a motion.
Move approval, Diaz.
First by Diaz, second.
I'll second.
Second by Cloven. Okay, Janet, call the vote, please.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
Aye.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, and now we're moving on to item number 5, recognitions and presentations. We have none, so we'll move on to reports now and turn it over to our city manager and staff report.
Great, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just one item actually, and it's a request related to the agenda this evening. Given some of the folks and items that we have participating, I would like to request that prior to starting our public hearings and action items, that we consider taking the GAD items, both their consent calendar and the public hearing for the GAD, and get those completed before we handle the rest of what will likely be longer items for this evening. So at whatever after the reports are made, if then there's a motion to rearrange the agenda, that would be great.
Do we need a motion for that? We just have a mayor's discretion for that?
I think it would help to have a motion, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll do that. And and then you're asking to do that after public comment and on non-agenda items, right?
Sure, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is that your entire report? Yes, Peter, do you want to go next? I see your hand is up.
If a motion's necessary, I so move.
You don't need the motion now. You're after the reports, right? Okay,
Anyway.
Peter, why don't you go ahead with your report then?
I'll keep it simple. I got the portion of the CVCA meeting, and I was busy this weekend with an interesting packet. So, end of report.
All right, Holly?
That was brief. Mine will be brief as well. I did attend the CBCA meeting last Thursday, and then I was on vacation shortly after our last meeting that we had. I had a couple of meetings with our city manager. I also met with our chief of police 2 weeks ago, and I've also answered some phone calls and various emails from constituents. And that's the end of my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, with Jim, he and I took the tour of CEMEX earlier, and I thought that was great. And then lots of emails and phone calls.
Take your boys or your daughter or anybody? No?
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's a fun tour. All right, Jim?
Thank you. I too met with a number of constituents on a variety of things, from the trail behind the Mount Diablo Elementary School District and a number of other things. I have also, as Jeff mentioned, we today had the tour of the CEMEX operation out there. First time I've ever been there.
Not too hot out there today, was it?
Yeah, well, it was a little warm, and we did a little bit of mountain climbing, if you will, to do a better view of some of the activities out there, which I think now we are much better informed on what is actually going on out there and what plans they have for the future of that for that operation. Very, very impressive. And again, I met with the city manager today as well, with the chief of police, as I reported earlier, for that item under the consent calendar. And finally, I'd like to make one comment There's been a lot of going around about my comments and, of course, of what the relationship with the CBCA is within the city. And I want to say, for the last 23 years that I've been involved with the CBCA and with the city, anything that the CBCA has done or enacted with the city, giving them whatever kind of in-kind contributions, have been solely and purposefully for the good of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so my report, let's see. Did the CBCA report. I also had the ABAG meeting, and that's the first one I was able to sit in on as mayor, and that was rather informative. They talked about the arena appeals process, which I know we're going to talk about tonight. And they also talked about the pilot program on their programs on the homelessness and affordable housing. They also want to establish a affordable housing database and some strategy talk there, and talked about the economic recovery. I had in the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservancy meeting, and they gave their annual report, and they're so impressive. It's like you were talking about with the Cemex store, how impressive these people are. They're so dedicated to what it is they do to preserve wetlands and parks and create new open spaces. It's really incredible. Of course, I took a lot of phone calls and emails. There was some concern about the splash pad downtown, and the splash pad is going to remain closed for now because of the severe drought that we're in, number one. And number two, I also understand from our maintenance department, there's some infrastructure problems there that we would have to take up. And so once we clear this drought, we'll get on that and get that back open again. I met with Rena several times. I met with Vice Mayor Cloven. And the other big meeting that I had was with Assembly Member Grayson. We talked about SB 9, SB 10, SB 9 passing out of the committee, going to go to the floor. We had quite a long conversation about our feelings with regard to SB 9 and the kind of trouble it give us here in Clayton. And we also talked about the RENA numbers as well. And we came to an agreement that he was going to set up a meeting, or try to set up a meeting with the Senate Pro Tem, President Pro Tem, and since she wrote the SB 9, and to try to carve out something for cities our size. Whether that's going to come to fruition or not, I don't know. We're going to try and talk again later on, but it would be nice to be able to have some consideration for cities our size with regard to SB 9 and SB 10 and the RENA numbers as well. So that is my report, and we will move on now. Oh, you need the motion for to change the what are we changing?
To move the GAD items before
the GAD item, yes, okay.
Public hearings and action, but you also still have public comment on matters not on the agenda.
Okay. All right. So we need a motion to move the GAD up.
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. So first by Cloven, second by Tillman. Janet, if you will, please.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Okay, so we will be moving that. All right, so we will go on now to item number 7, which is still item number 7, the public comment on non-agenda items. So you'll have 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes, to talk about things that are not on tonight's agenda. So do we have some hands raised out there? And if you wouldn't mind identifying yourself, that'd be great. You don't have to put your screen on, but.
We do. Our first speaker is Frank. Frank, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hi. I would like to both clarify and expand my comments I made about the CBCA at the May 18th City Council meeting under the public comment portion of the meeting. First of all, in no way are my comments meant to disparage the good things CBCA does as an organization, from the festivals to the scholarships. As for my comments about the report given to CBCA by the Planning Commission, when former Chair Chipro gave his reports to CBCA, the city had neither posted the video from the meeting nor had the result of the vote been posted on the city website. I confirmed this fact with former Director Fesky at the time. I made no accusation about former Chair Chipro. I simply spoke the truth about something that took place. I did not make these comments to accuse anyone. I made these comments to pose the very important question: why does the city give private reports to CBCA? Food for thought. In 2018, taxpaying citizens were asking for town hall meetings to interact with city leadership. Those requests were denied. At city council meetings, the public can't ask questions. I have observed that both the mayor and planning commissioner who's giving the report do take questions at CBCA. My question was to the city, not to CBCA. Why does the city give these reports? Is it because CBCA donates money to the city? Upon bringing up the fact that CBCA donates money to the city, several board members, past and present, reacted viciously and denied this. I have in my hands CBCA Form 990 tax returns from years 2017, 2018, and 2019. These are public documents and they are required filing for nonprofits to the Internal Revenue Service. In 2019, the CBCA made a cash charitable donation to the city in the amount of $7,804. In 2017, they made a cash donation of $10,304. Councilmember Tillman, past secretary of the CBCA, stated during that meeting where I made my comments that CBCA has never given money to the city. This is troubling because the Form 990 itself attests under penalty of perjury that board members received this form for review. The Pioneer published an article meant to disparage me and also denied money has ever been given to the city. Final thoughts. The 2017 990 form attests it was reviewed by then President Robert Steiner, husband to Tamara Steiner, owner of the Pioneer, before being submitted to the IRS. I am having trouble obtaining the 2020 990s. Why would it not be available in a year of no activity? I would remind the board they have a fiduciary duty to all members and potential donors if there's anything irregular that needs to be explained. Lastly, CBCA is a charitable 501c3. They are not supposed to do any political lobbying. There are those out there calling for my censure and removal who are putting CBCA's 501c3 at great risk. I wouldn't want to have to explain this to an IRS agent. CBCA needs to stick to being a charitable organization and stay out of politics. Thank you.
All right, moving on now. Do we have anyone else, Janet?
Our next speaker is Edward. Edward, as you're promoted to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
You're still on mute, Ed.
There's a slight delay there as we get promoted to a little intercession. All right, so quickly. Sorry to continue in the same flavor, council members, as the last caller, but my comments are quick. There's been enough political infighting. I know we're all tired of it, and I'm not here to add to that rancor or waste the council's time. But in the last meeting, I felt like my name was dragged through the mud a little bit, and I wasn't afforded an opportunity to respond to those comments. I think members of this council and the Planning Commission deserve some assurances that they're not working alongside mean-spirited mouth breather when I take my seat at the table. So Councilman Juan said during my Planning Commission interview that he would not support me because I made, quote, derogatory and misogynistic comments about his wife. The comment I made on social media, to which he was referring, was actually about another political figure in the community. And I said this. So, quote, so-and-so was a good mayor, but has devolved into a disinformation bot. It's sad. I feel sorry for him. He would have been kicked off of Nextdoor a long time ago, but the wives of his political allies, such as Juan's wife, are Nextdoor moderators. And that's all I said. If you're like me, you're probably looking hard at that statement, thinking, trying to figure out what's derogatory, what's misogynistic about that. You might have been thinking that can't possibly be the right statement. He must have it wrong. It must have been a different comment. But that is actually the one that Juan quoted in an email directly to me on the subject. And it's the only statement I've ever mentioned his wife in publicly. I understand that the councilman probably just thought he was acting to protect his family from being dragged into the political arena. And I think that's a reasonable and fair concern. I'm sympathetic to that. My issue comes solely from the fact that he dropped this bombshell of an accusation and then turned off his camera and refused to answer questions from his fellow council members about the content of this during their deliberations. That's my only issue. He was counting on the ambiguity that he left hanging over me to sink my chances of appointment. That's not transparency, Councilman. That's chicanery. That's bald-faced political trickery. And it's the kind of rot that threatens our democratic process these days. It didn't work simply because people in this community know me well enough that they could see those characterizations were very far afield. Anyway, I want to thank the council. I'm grateful that I may return to service along with my fellow commissioners, who must now turn our focus and efforts to help plot a course for our beloved community during this critical period. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, Janet.
So I have a response to that, and I'm going to say
it's a non-agenda item. I don't believe, in the same way that I was not allowed to respond.
I gave you a chance to respond when I emailed you privately about this matter. You either chose to ignore it or you didn't receive it for whatever reason. But, you know, I had no intention of sinking your potential appointment because I know that your allies on the council would vote for you regardless of whatever I said. So I really had no intention of doing that. I had no expectation of doing that. What I said was, when you commented about my wife saying that she took actions based on my beliefs, you assumed that her actions based on zero evidence. I said, doing that is misogynistic because you are assuming that she does not have agency of her own. You and I may disagree from time to time. I'm completely comfortable with that. I think there's an expectation that as part of holding public office, there will be various forms of criticism. I'm comfortable with that as well. I can't stop you from engaging in this type of debasing behavior, but I wanted to let you know personally, I find that attacking the families of public figures, it crosses a line and it is highly offensive. If you assume that the beliefs of a spouse is the same as their spouse, that's offensive and misogynistic to think that a wife will have the same views as a husband. My fellow council member Tillman made the same comment. And I said, no, you cannot assume the actions of a spouse based on another because that's offensive. And she quickly agreed because we don't do that. We don't assume the beliefs of one based on another. And to do that, especially for a woman to assume the views of a woman based on the views of her husband is incredibly misogynistic. I will never change that view. And that is not appropriate for any public space, any private space, and needs to be reviewed anytime it comes about. So that is why I think your comments were misogynistic. Maybe you are not. I don't know you. I don't care to know you. But if you make those comments, I will call them out every time.
Janet, I don't see any more hands up. Is that correct?
Mayor Wolf, I do not have any other hands raised on this item.
All right, then we will close our public comment and move on now. We are going to recess our city council meeting and move to the Oakhurst Geological Hazard Abatement District meeting. So we'll reconvene after that. So we'll turn it over now to Chairperson Tillman.
Great, thank you. I will call to order the June 29th, 2021 Oakhurst Geological Hazard Abatement District at, what time is it? 7:24 p.m. Are there any, I'm now going to move to item number 2 on the agenda. Are there any public comments this evening?
Chair Tillman, oh, no, I do not have any hands raised.
You know what? Do we actually need to do a roll call for who's here for the board? I don't see that listed here, but actually it's called to order. It is. So we need to do that before the public comments, actually.
Sure. Board Member Diaz?
Here.
Board Member Juan?
Here.
Board Member Wolf?
I'm here.
Vice Chair Cloven,
I'm here.
and Chair Tillman.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll move to item number 2 on the agenda, which is public comments.
And Chair Tillman, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Okay, great. Item number 3 on the agenda is the consent calendar. And A is to approve the Board of Directors minutes for its regular meeting on June 15th, 2021. Does anyone want to make a motion or have any comments about those?
So moved.
Second.
Great. So moved by Cloven and seconded by Board Member Wolf.
Board
Number
Member Diaz,
Thank you.
Yes.
Board Member Juan,
Aye.
Board Member Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cloven,
Yes.
Chair Tillman.
Yes. Thank you, Janet. So that is 5 yeses for approving the minutes. Public hearing is item number 4. There are none. So we'll move to number 5, which is action items. And that's to adopt a resolution ordering improvements and confirming real property assessments in the Oakhurst Geological Hazard Abatement District for fiscal year 2021-22. And I will turn it over to the district manager.
Actually, I'm going to give a brief presentation and Bill Stracker, our district engineer, is here as well if there are project questions. Plus, we have a couple of other folks in the audience from Harris who are experts in special district assessments, special assessment districts. And so if there are any questions on that regard, I will have them join us as well. So you heard the budget for the Oakhurst Geological Hazard Abatement District, fondly known as the GAD, at the GAD board's last meeting. The purpose of the meeting this evening is to briefly review that information, to take public comment through a public hearing process, and ultimately, if the board so chooses, to approve a resolution with the intent to levy and collect the assessment. So what is a GAD, or a Geologic Hazard Abatement District? A GAD is created to finance the prevention, mitigation, abatement, and control of geological hazards. The GAD is authorized and formed under Public Resources Code, as you can see there. So district formation can be initiated through either a property owner or by resolution of the sponsoring agency. The district was originally formed, in our case, by the property owner, Presley of Northern California. The required, what's called plan of control, or the district planning documents, were prepared for Presley by a geotechnical consultant along with an attorney, and were done in the late 80s. During a hearing held April 18th, 2000 to adopt the authorizing resolution determining the lack of a majority protest, etc., the board clerk reported that the yes votes were greater than the no votes. And what you see are dollar figures, because in a property-based assessment such as this, the votes are weighted by that initial assessment amount. And so the property owner who would pay the most would have a larger weighted vote than the property owner who would pay less in that process. And so that's how you see what oddly looks like should be vote totals that are dollar totals. The public hearing was held at that point. There was no public comment, and the Oakhurst GAD was formed to fund the operations and maintenance within the district. Really small. I don't know how many of you are looking at big screens or small screens, but no matter what, that's a kind of a small picture. But it was also in your packet, and I believe most of you are familiar with the boundaries of the Oakhurst GAD and the hillsides there that were intended to be protected from that. So the method of assessment and determination of benefit established during the formation of the district divided the area into separate benefit assessment districts. So once that was done, determining the benefit of those, the costs or allocation for the district was determined. So Area 1, which included certain addresses, the duplexes and townhouses, was assigned 25%. Again, you can see what was assigned 50%. Area 3 was assigned 25%. That was done based on the engineer's assessment of the value of the improvements that would be undertaken in the district to those properties. And so further, you saw that there was a total of 1,484 dwelling units. The type of housing was considered when assigning the benefit. So a single family unit is assigned a factor of 1. The duet units assigned a factor of 0.75, multifamily at a factor of 0.5. Again, the benefit in this case accruing more so to the larger properties, larger parcels. So what have we in store for FY 21-22? Consumer Price Index, as you've heard in other contexts, April 2020 to April 2021, which is what's prescribed, 3.8%. We have a beginning fund balance of about $63,000. That beginning fund balance is the result of not having been able to complete the Ahwahnee project, Ahwahnee Lane project repairs in fiscal year 21. So we are carrying that money over into fiscal year 22 in order to complete that project. In FY 22, there's about $44,000 in assessments. We get a little bit of interest income. And then in order to meet the total costs of the projects and the required work for the year, there is a recommendation to transfer approximately $20,000 from the Presley settlement, which was part of the initial development process. And that money has been sitting there. It's currently at about $125,000. We're transferring $20,000. That will leave us about $95,000. Several years ago, there was another project done from that Presley settlement. So it's typically been used for some larger repairs as they have been needed. The total FY22 annual budget is $128,000. And I will point out that almost from the start, we've known that there would not be sufficient money raised through the GAD to cover all of the potential costs that could arise associated with the abating the geologic hazards that exist in that area. There were some earlier attempts to increase that beyond just the CPI, and those were not successful. And it's been about 20 years since that has been brought back in any form other than just that annual CPI. We have not taken it to a new property owner vote since 2000 when that was put in place. This information was in your packet. It shows the general costs for the district. So we've got some engineering consulting. The biggest cost by far is the Ahwahnee Lane project at about $80,000. That number is higher than the $63,000 we had estimated last year for two reasons. One, project costs have increased, and two, we need to do some additional evaluation to make sure that it's properly designed, and so we want to make sure that we have sufficient funding to do that. So those are the expenses. The district administration transfer to the general fund is essentially an overhead charge that is allowed under the measure. The district doesn't have any of its own staff, so all of us in the city who provide services to support the district, that amount is transferred to the general fund. I'll just leave these up very briefly. They're in your packet by subdivision, name, the number of units, and the assessments that will be charged. Again, as we continue through those subdivisions, and then the last of the subdivisions there. So again, you can see that those are scaled by 25%, 50%, and 25%. The purpose is, as we've talked about, to protect the public improvements. The quiet enjoyment is a technical term in the industry. It always makes me sort of laugh quietly, but it is a technical term. It doesn't act as an insurance policy, so it doesn't mean if things go crashing down that somehow this is an insurance policy. The homeowners all have their own homeowners insurance policies. The public improvements within the geologic hazard abatement district, streets, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, storm drainage infrastructure, slopes and slope stability analysis, and equipment. What you see is, other than the major repair on Awanee Lane, the second biggest cost is for monitoring slope stability. So you see described a number of different types of monitoring equipment that help us keep track of whether or not the hill is moving more quickly, more slowly, unusually, et cetera, so that we catch things before they get catastrophic. For better or worse, the dry weather sort of stops things from sliding quite as much, but it has some other downsides for us. The recommended board action this evening is to adopt the resolution ordering the improvements and confirming the real property assessments for fiscal year 21-22. Myself, Bill Stracker, and the other Harris staff are here to answer any questions. We will then ask to have you open the public hearing, take any public testimony, close the public hearing, and then any final questions and deliberation. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we are available for any questions.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for staff? No?
So open the public hearing would be your next step, and see if there's any public testimony.
Great. Janet, are there any participants on the line with their hands raised to ask any questions?
Chair Tillman, there are no hands raised on this item.
Okay, great. Then we will close the public comment section and bring it back to the board. If no one has any questions for staff, someone can make a motion.
I move to accept the report and move it forward.
Okay. So that's a motion by board member Cloven. Is there a second?
Pardon.
Okay, and a second by board member Juan. Janet?
Board member Diaz?
Yes.
Board member Juan?
Aye.
Board member Wolf?
Yes.
Vice Chair Cloven?
Yes.
Chair Tillman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Janet. Next on the agenda is item number 6, which is board items, and that's limited to requests and directives for future meetings. Do any board members have any items they'd like to present? Jeff?
I'd like to follow up on a couple previous requests. I think I've made this request for the past 3 GAD meetings, and I will reiterate the same request. I think it'd be important for our citizens to understand the work that the GAD does, the schedule of work, when it's going to be done, when it's completed. I think it's something that we could publish on our website so that when folks say that something should be done, it's clear that it's either been done or not, and we indicate so. And then just the areas of responsibility of the GAD. I don't think it has to be very detailed, and I'm assuming that we have most of this information already, and that there is a schedule for required maintenance items that we elect to perform with the GAD funds. So I think publishing that information will go a long way toward informing the public. So I would request that we do this again, or I would make this request again, that is. This is my 4th time making this request.
Thank you, Board Member Juan, and I appreciate the additional words you gave this time, because I had not understood your request the same way as I do this time. I thought we were going to have addressed most of your questions in the presentation, but I now understand more clearly the specifics that you're looking for with respect to schedule of work and the timing of work, et cetera, et cetera. So we can make sure that we get that more completely communicated. So thank you for that.
Yeah, the intent is solely to inform the public, because I think it's difficult to follow because this is somewhat complex. So informing the public, I think, is something that would be good here.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, then I will close that item and move to adjourn the meeting at 7:40 p.m. And we can now hand it back over to the regular meeting, and I'll give it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right, so we will reconvene the city council meeting and move on to our public hearings, which now is item number 10. Public hearing on the City of Clayton budget for fiscal year 21-22 and the 5-year capital improvement program for fiscal years 21-22 through 25-26. So our finance director will take it from here.
Okay, while Janet's moving everybody back in for that, I'm just going to give a brief opening comment before Paul makes his last presentation for us. The council committee has heard this presentation. The council as a whole has had this discussion. Tonight is really an opportunity to just review the information one more time, determine to open the public hearing, determine if there's any public testimony, and receive those comments. As I mentioned prior to our meeting on this item on June 15th, the council will have the opportunity over the summer and into the fall to talk about some of the long-term financial issues facing this city, including use of reserves, use of the American Rescue Plan Act funds, and what the long-term financing options are for the city as we look at creating a sustainable budget going forward. So this evening is for operating and CIP adoption. And with that, I will operate the PowerPoint. I'm going to turn it over to Paul Rodriguez, our finance director, for his last presentation. And the department heads are all here for any questions, should there be any, after the presentation. So Paul, take it away.
Thank you very much, Raina. Again, tonight we are asking for approval of the fiscal year 21-22 budget. This is the third step of a multi-step process. On June 8th, the City Council Budget and Audit Subcommittee meeting met with council members Juan and Tillman, met with staff and reviewed and provided input to the draft proposed fiscal year 21-22 budget. Then, as you'll recall, staff brought the proposed budget with recommended changes from the subcommittee to the City Council on June 15th. And tonight we are holding a public hearing for the adoption of the fiscal year 21-22 budget. The budget obviously will be effective beginning July 1st, 2021, lasting through June 30th of 2022. I think most of us realize, but some don't, that the city, as do most cities in California, operate on a July 1 through June 30 fiscal year. So we're not on a calendar year. So that's why we're doing this this evening. Next slide, please. So this is just a 5-year budget trend citywide. It includes all of the city funds with the exception of the capital improvement fund, project fund. You'll see this year we're proposing a $13 million annual budget, which is up over last year's, but is pretty well in line with the 1920 budget. And where the big variances occur, as you would expect, are within the capital improvement program. And I misspoke. This does obviously include the capital improvement projects fund. But primarily the capital improvement projects, those are projects that can vary monetarily from year to year. And that's where the big variances can be expected to be found. So next slide, please. And again, please stop me at any time if you have any questions. Here's our general fund revenue by category. Again, about 21.9% of our property taxes in lieu of vehicle licensing fees, 20.4% in property tax revenues, 11.1% in franchise fees, 11.3% sales and use tax, 9.0% of RPTTF property tax share, 3.4% use of money in property, including interest revenues, investment revenues, 5.2% are fiduciary and successor agency fund support to the general fund, 3.4% other in lieu, 2.9% of the general fund's revenues come from business licenses, 3.2% come from user benefit and regulatory fees, and 2.4% are admin support transfers from other funds. In other words, other funds throughout the city pay the general fund for the use of for administrative costs. And then finally, 5.8% are the miscellaneous or other costs. Any questions on this slide? Okay, next slide, please. Total expenditures for the city of Clayton, as you can see, about 55% are within the general fund, 22% are landscape maintenance district, and then throughout you can see the other funds pretty much vary between 1 and about 4 to 5%. Any questions on this? And this is the slide that does not have the CIP and fiduciary fund in this pie chart. So next slide, please. So operating expenditures proposed for 2021-22 for the general fund, 51.9% for the police, public safety, which is in line with what it was last year, 20.4% to admin, finance, and legal costs departments, 6.6% for community development, 5.9% for the community park, 4.9% for general services, 3.9% for public works, 2.5% for the library, 2.7% for engineering, and 1.2% for the legislative department, which is the city council's department. Next slide, please. So I'm going to hand this back over to Raina for the CIP.
All right. So the CIP projects are the same that you saw on June 15th, but I am going to take a minor detour from that, and I can show the streets that will be part of that neighborhood pavement project, which were also the project that was listed for the SB1 road maintenance funds that Councilmember Juan asked about. So I apologize, I didn't have it at that moment, but the wonders of modern technology, here is the list. North Mitchell Canyon, Caulfield Court, Kinston Drive, Tiffin, Chardonnay, Peacock Creek Drive, Pebble Beach Drive, Mount Dell Drive, Harriman Court, Fleming Drive, El Molino Drive, and Capistrano Court. So those are the streets that in the most recent, prior to this, pavement management program evaluation were the streets that were in the greatest need of repaving. And so those were selected, and it's this list that we've carried for about a year and a half now. And in July, we should be bringing forward the bid awards for both the street segments that you see, as well as the ADA curb ramps associated with it. So Councilmember Warnock or others, I don't know if you had any more questions, but I apologize. This is the list of projects, street segments that both belong to this project and to that list that was the RMRA SB1 road maintenance funds. So I apologize.
No, this is great. Thank you. And I know that we had talked earlier about a list of the total PCI readings for the complete inventory of streets. I've seen it before, but I couldn't locate it. So I think that'd be great also as a way to inform the public on the assessment of the various streets, because without that list, it does seem haphazard. but with the list, it seems very organized.
Yeah. So that I'm hunting up our copy of that complete evaluation, the most recent time it was done. But that's the, excuse me, these are the streets that were selected from that last evaluation. So thank you for that brief aside that you all allowed me. Now I need to find my.
Ina,
yes.
A quick question. Did you mention a little bit earlier that you have to go get bids to do the paving project? Is that what you said?
We already have the bids received, and so we just have to bring it to the city council to award.
Okay.
So that was completed, and we have those two reports partially done, and we'll bring them to the council in July to award those two. It's two separate contracts for the work.
Okay, great. No, I just wanted to clarify. I misunderstood and thought that possibly the amounts could change, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so there's your CIP, including a little detour, no pun intended, for the neighborhood streets repaving project. And now I believe we'll go back briefly to Paul to finish out the presentation.
Thanks again, Raina. So this is a kind of a snapshot look at where we're expecting the general fund reserve balance to be at the end of fiscal year 2022. We're starting out with a projected fund balance on June 30th, 2021 of about $5.6 million, and we're looking like we're going to end up with about an $8,000 increase to that general fund balance. Projected revenues being about $5,185,000 and proposed expenditures being about $5,177,000. So an operational surplus of about $8,000. Next slide, please. So at this point, it's recommended that the City Council open the public hearing, receive public comments, close a public hearing.
Skipped over the GAN limit one. Can you go back one slide? 9.
Oh, okay. There you go. Thought we skipped one. So before we do that, this is the slide of the appropriations limit, otherwise known as the GAN limit, which came out of the Prop 13 initiative back in, 1977, I think. But this shows how we're limited based upon some changes in per capita cost of living ratios and changes in population ratios. We can only appropriate up to $12,654,000 roughly, and we're estimating that our appropriations are going to be $5.2 million. So we're in good shape with regards to where our appropriations are at, and this will be part of the resolution that you pass if you so choose to pass. Next slide, please. So again, back to the recommendation is to open the public hearing and receive public comment, and close the public hearing, provide any final budget modifications, and then by motion adopt a resolution approving a city operating budget for fiscal 21-22, a CIP budget for fiscal 21-22, and adopting the appropriation limit. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the city manager.
Thank you, Paul. And before I turn it over to the council for questions in the public hearing process, I do want to just essentially read a correction into the record. The resolution that is in your packet states that it's not just the CIP budget for fiscal year 21-22, but also a 5-year CIP. We did not include that in the same document this year, so the resolution will be modified to simply say that we're adopting the 1-year CIP. So I just wanted to read that into the record, and we will correct that resolution when it is finalized. So I just wanted to cover that so that the council is aware that that will be updated. And with that, staff are all available for questions.
Anybody have any questions for staff before we take public testimony?
Good luck, Paul.
Thank you.
All right, let's open it up to public testimony. Do we have anyone that wants to speak?
Mayor Wolf, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
All right, then we will close the public section and bring it back to the council for any clarifications or changes. Motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the budget as indicated in the proposed resolution.
We have a first by Juan. Anybody? Second?
I'll second it.
Second by Tillman. And Janet, call the vote.
Councilmember Diaz.
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman.
Yes.
Councilmember Juan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven.
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Okay, that passes, and we'll move on now to our item B here.
Mayor Wolf, if I may, just before we leave, I know Mr. Rodriguez is leaving us, and I just wanted to thank him on behalf of the staff. He came in at the city just as the pandemic started, and we had an interesting year when he first started with the variety of leadership, and he jumped in and really, did a yeoman's job in putting together last fiscal year's budget as well as this fiscal year's budget. So I just wanted to thank him for his efforts in stepping right in and jumping, and I want to say swimming upstream very, very quickly, and was able to be successful in bringing us 2 fiscal years of budgets on time and in budget without any deficit spending. So I wanted to just say thanks to him for that.
I'd like to thank him too, but I think we might have lost him. I'm not sure that he's still on the line.
Did a pretty good job of last week. 2 weeks ago, we did a pretty good job of it.
Yes, thank you, Paul, and good luck.
Yeah. I got a chance to talk to him in person in the office too. So
okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So we'll move on now to item B, public hearing. This is the Oak Creek Canyon Project public hearing on applicant's appeal of the Planning Commission recommendation of denial. And there's a lot to read here, but I'll just turn it over to the interim community development director. We'll wait for her to get in there.
We're moving people over appropriately for this. Give us one moment.
And Mayor Wolf, maybe this would be the time to make certain disclosures.
Yes. Okay. Does anybody have any disclosures on? Thank you, Molly. I meant to do that. I had it written here too. Yes, Vice Mayor Cloven.
I just want to disclose that I did attend the Planning Commission meeting where they discussed this originally. I have had conversations in the past with the eastern adjoining property owner, Mr. Moya, although the details of the project and his project were not spoken about directly, and I remain open and available to make a decision with no bias tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Holly?
I too could hear the Planning Commission meeting as my husband was watching and I was cooking dinner. I could hear bits and pieces, so just wanted to fully disclose that as well. And I'm also not biased and can remain open tonight as well. Thank you.
And anybody else? Jeff, yes? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I've had conversations with, I think, both property owners at various times. Just talk about general matters. So,
Jim, anything?
I didn't watch the Planning Commission. I avoid it intentionally and have not talked to anyone. Thank you.
Okay, and I want to disclose that I had a text conversation with past Mayor Catalano with regard to a continuance on this and came to no real resolution on that. So that's the extent of my disclosure. Okay, so we shall move on now and let our interim community development director take it from here.
Thank you, Mayor Wolf, members of the City Council. I do have a brief presentation that will start momentarily. Before I begin, I just wanted to note for the record a couple of things. First off, that this item was originally scheduled and noticed for the City Council's meeting of June 1st. And with the consent of the applicant, staff, and with the council's blessing and vote, the item was continued to tonight's meeting. So this is a continued public hearing on an appeal that was received by the applicant for the Oak Creek Canyon residential project. I would just note for the record that as of 5 o'clock this evening, staff had received 6 comment letters, all of which have been forwarded to City Council members and added to the agenda website. If you'll give me a moment, please, I will go ahead and start sharing my screen and give an overview of the Oak Creek Canyon project. Okay, the Oak Creek Canyon residential project. Again, the purpose of tonight's public hearing is to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's recommendation of denial of the project, which included the following entitlements listed on the screen here, including an initial study mitigated negative declaration, a request to amend the general plan land use map, a request to amend the Marsh Creek Road specific plan, a zoning map amendment, as well as development entitlements, including a vesting tentative map to subdivide the property, a development plan permit related to the PD zoning requested for the property, and a tree removal permit for removal of up to 9 trees on the property to accommodate the proposed development. I'm going to go through a very brief overview of this. I know that there's a lot of information in the City Council's packet on this, as well as the attachments that were posted 72 hours prior to tonight's meeting. And I will just reserve or offer the City Council members opportunities to ask questions, but I'm going to keep this rather brief. So the project site is located near the southeastern corner of the city boundary. You can see on the site map, the location map here. The property itself is highlighted on the screen in this red boundary and encompasses just over 9 acres of land. It excludes a water tank, which is owned by the Contra Costa Water District, but does surround that property. As can be seen in the aerial photos, surrounding lands are predominantly undeveloped on the north and eastern sides. On the south side, across the street from Marsh Creek Road, which extends along the frontage of the property here, is a neighborhood of single-family detached homes. In the more general vicinity, there's the municipal boundary is right at the edge of the property here. So outside of the municipal boundary are some low-density rural developments. There's also a community park here, about a half mile northwest of the site. Just going to scroll through a few quick photos of the property, panning from west to east. The access road to the water tank can be seen here, and then panning a little bit further to the east is the central portion of the property. This is where lot 1 would be located. Again, a little further east. This is the approximate alignment of the road. You can see the median break here, which would be where the intersection would line up. And then again, further to the east, one of the lots would be located here. And again, the boundary of the property would be right about here. Again, just briefly going over the entitlements that have been requested. The project applicants are requesting a general plan amendment. The general plan amendment would change the designation of certain portions of the property from public and quasi-public to and private open space so PQ and PR, and would change the boundaries of the existing low-density residential designation that's highlighted in the yellow here. This area here, which is also designated public and quasi-public, is outside of the boundaries of the project, as you could see from the aerial photo. And this would not change with the general plan amendment. So comparing the existing and the proposed general plan land use designations, you see that there is no change there. As I said, the boundaries of the low density designation are proposed to be expanded, and the PQ designation in the southeastern corner of the property is proposed to be removed. The Marsh Creek Road specific plan amendments would mirror those of the general plan. Again, nothing is proposed to be changed with respect to the CCWD property off-site of the project site. Areas that are currently designated private open space would generally remain so, although the boundaries of the low density residential development designation would be expanded to encompass a larger footprint, as can be seen on the proposed specific plan land use map. And the specific plan amendment includes a request to add private open space as a land use designation within the Marsh Creek Road specific plan. Again, the zoning amendment would change the zoning map, not the general plan map. We're talking about zoning, would change the zoning of the property from R10 to PD, which is planned development. So this essentially would change the zoning from single family residential with 10,000 square foot minimum lot sizes and public facilities. Again, CCWD is not changing. Would eliminate these two designations and identify the whole area, whole 9 acres, as a PD. The PD also allows residential development, single family, but does allow a little more flexibility in development regulations than an R10 district would. And as I said, the public facilities designation would be completely removed, and the detention basin that would be in that area would be considered a private facility. And I'll get to that momentarily on what the site plan looks like. This is not the easiest thing to see on your screens, and I apologize for that, but it is in your packets and is much clearer. But I wanted to show this because the vesting tentative map is one of the actions for which the City Council is being asked to consider an appeal. The project includes subdivision of the entire 9-acre site into 6 lots. And it's a little difficult to see on the screen, but you can see the lots are marked by numbers. So 1, 2, lot 3, lot 4, lot 5, and lot 6. In between lots 1 through 5 and lots 6 is the proposed alignment of what is called on this map Saltbrush Lane. Some others may refer to it, according to the Marsh Creek Road specific plan designation, as Oak Creek Canyon Road. The proposed Saltbrush Lane is proposed to be built as a 24-foot wide paved segment within a 48-foot wide right-of-way dedication through the property. There are a couple different configurations here for how the developer has proposed to align and improve within the right-of-way. One which shows just the road, and then one which shows the road being paved and additional area being graded for future expansion should area to the east of this property be developed in future years. I wanted to just acknowledge for the record a typo in my staff report to the council, which referred to the paved surface as 20 feet curb to curb. It is 24. The resolution acknowledges it correctly, as do the plans show this as a 24-foot wide paved curb to curb surface.
And Dana, I'm sorry if I can just interrupt at this point. I want to make sure that people are aware that the conditions of approval actually call out that the alternative that's down at the bottom there with the grading work done on the shoulder is included as a condition, that would be the section that would be built initially.
Yes, and thank you for pointing that out. Zooming in a little bit more, we can see the proposed layout of the lots. The layout here is identified as part of the development plan permit request. Because the property is proposed to be rezoned to PD district, the application needs to include a development plan that shows how the property would be developed. So this is the proposed layout of lots. Again, you can see lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lot 6. On private lot 6 is a detention basin, which would be, bioretention basin, which would be improved, graded, and with proper soil to provide treatment of stormwater runoff from impervious areas on the site, such as driveways, roofs, and the street. Staff does recommend that this area have a split rail fence around it just so that it is protected and is allowed to maintain function as a bioretention facility without future modification or encroachment.
I'm sorry, Dana,
Yes.
do you want to just mention that that area would be maintained by the HOA? It's not the responsibility of lot 6.
Correct. So both the bioretention pond bioretention basin, as well as Saltbrush Lane would be privately maintained facilities maintained by the HOA. The developer would make an offer of dedication for the right of way, which the city could accept at its discretion. But until the city accepts the dedication, the roadway would be maintained by the HOA as well as the bioretention basin, as Laura noted. Another element required of a development plan is landscaping. So the developer did propose a landscaping conceptual plan, which includes a combination of new trees as well as ground covers and shrubs. I'm going to scroll through these very quickly. These are the proposed.
And I just wanted to go back on the landscape plan, if you can go back on that, just to point out that even though they have a very detailed plant palette list, the city staff would normally go over that at a later date when they get to construction plan level. We had not gone through all of the plant species and the irrigation details. So there is a condition in the proposed conditions of approval that make reference to that. And the HOA would actually be responsible for the landscaping that's not within the private lot areas, except for the median islands on Marsh Creek Road.
Right, so that would include the landscaping here along Marsh Creek Road, but as Laura noted, not these pockets. Again, very quickly running through the house plans. These are also requisites of the development plan permit. They include a combination of single family as well as, single story, as well as 2-story residences. Okay. So as I noted in introducing the item, the Planning Commission held 4 different public hearings on this. Public comments were accepted at 2 of those. 1 of them. The Planning Commission, after conducting public hearings on this project, expressed quite a bit of concern about the inconsistencies that had been depicted on the plans. The plans had changed a few times during the course of their review, and there were concerns that the plans were inaccurate and therefore inadequate for the Planning Commission to sufficiently review the scope of the project and to understand what build out of the project would look like. Saltbrush Lane, for example, was shown as a right-of-way of 56 feet rather than 48 feet, as is identified in the Marsh Creek Road specific plan. With correction of that right-of-way width, the Planning Commission was concerned that there could be non-compliance with other development regulations, such as setbacks and lot sizes. So there was concern about what changing the right-of-way, that the change in the right-of-way would have cascading changes in the layout of the property that they were not able to see clearly with the plans that had been submitted. The plans did not account for removal of landscaping should Saltbrush Lane be widened in the future and that area to the east be developed. And then the plans included sound walls, which are needed for noise mitigation associated with the roadway noise on the single family residences that have been identified in the environmental analysis. However, sound walls are inconsistent with policies in the Marsh Creek Road specific plan. So with making these findings at the Planning Commission meeting of March 9th, the Planning Commission recommended denial of the project. Now, because the project includes recommendations, particularly with respect to the PD district and the development plan, the Planning Commission's recommendation of denial effectively terminated proceedings on the project. So while generally recommendations of the Planning Commission are forwarded to the City Council, and the City Council is the final decision maker with respect to general plan amendments, zoning amendments, and specific plan amendments, those recommendations are forwarded automatically in the event of a recommendation, an affirmative recommendation. In the event of a recommendation of denial, that recommendation terminates the project. And the project that at that point only moves forward to the City Council on receipt of an appeal by any interested party or the applicant. In this instance, the applicant did submit an appeal after notice of decision was prepared by staff pursuant to Clayton Municipal Code. Along with the applicant's appeal, which is included with the attachments to your staff report, the applicant submitted a revised set of plans that were intended to address the concerns that had been raised by the Planning Commission at the various public hearings that were held between last year and this year. Primarily, the revised plans show a right-of-way dedication and option for grading of 48 feet for Saltbrush Lane, which, as Laura noted, there are two different configurations or street sections shown for that, how that 48-foot wide right-of-way gets improved. And staff does recommend the latter of the two, which shows full grading of the right-of-way with paving for 24 feet curb to curb and installation of 6-foot wide sidewalks. The 6-foot wide sidewalk and landscaping on the other side of the street is consistent with the specific plan. The revised plans, because they now accurately show a 48-foot right-of-way consistent with the Marsh Creek Road specific plan, now more accurately depict the lot sizes of the proposed lots, as well as the setbacks from the edge of right-of-way to the proposed residences. And those setbacks are consistent with the residential zoning districts for the R10. But again, because this is a PD, the development can propose unique standards. But it is typically consistent or generally consistent with large lot single family development in the city. And then again, speaking to the concern raised about sound walls, the notes have been added to the plans that indicate that there will be no concrete masonry unit or block walls for purposes of noise attenuation. The applicant's noise consultant did confirm that a double-sided wood fence, in other words, a fence that has two rows of slats to where there's no noise gaps, would be sufficient for providing noise attenuation. And as Laura noted, with final landscape plan, staff will approve a final fencing design that meets the standard for noise attenuation. We anticipate that will be a double fence.
Dana?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. So is part of the reason why this doesn't need to go back to the Planning Commission then is because once they denied the project, you said it terminated it. Is that why it doesn't need to go back to them and was going to come to us anyway? And this is proper procedure that we're able to hear all of this tonight, even though some things have been, I'm going to say in quotes, changed from what the Planning Commission reviewed?
Yeah, and I'm going to skip this slide because this repeats what you already know. These are the things you're reviewing. And then I'm going to stop screen sharing and then I'm going to turn my camera on and answer that question.
Okay.
Because I feel strange answering a question while there is a PowerPoint presentation up. On a request to amend a general plan, a specific plan, or a zoning ordinance, the Planning Commission plays an advisory role. The Planning Commission makes a recommendation, and if that recommendation is affirmative, the item automatically moves on to the City Council for the City Council to ultimately decide to amend the general plan, specific plan, or zoning ordinance. If the Planning Commission's recommendation is to deny the project, specifically, in this case, the development plan permit, that stops the project. The project does not move forward to the City Council unless there is an appeal received. Now, the City Council could refer an item back to the Planning Commission that was referred to it either with an affirmative or negative recommendation. If there is substantial change to the project that was not previously considered by the advisory body, in this case, the Planning Commission. In this case, staff doesn't believe that that's the circumstance. The items that have been changed on this project with respect to the alignment of Saltbrush, excuse me, not alignment, but the right-of-way width of Saltbrush Lane and all of those related changes, the noise attenuation, those were all items that were discussed by the Planning Commission during their public hearing. Beyond that, there were no changes to lot sizes. Architectural plans did not change. Well, there were changes to lot sizes, but not lot configuration. You still have 6 lots generally in the same configuration as they were depicted to the Planning Commission. So staff doesn't believe that there's a significant change to the project that would trigger return of the item to the Planning Commission. But of course, that is the City Council's discretion.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any other questions that any council members may have at this time. I have nothing further to present, unless Laura, you have some other suggestions for things that I may have forgotten to mention during the course of the presentation.
I'll just point out that the 2 islands in Marsh Creek Road would be incorporated. They already are in the landscape maintenance district, but the developer would be planting them out and putting in appropriate plants and irrigation that the city maintenance staff agrees to and approves of. And they would be the areas that would be maintained by the landscape maintenance district, while the HOA would deal with the frontage landscaping, which is no different than what we have up in Diablo Estates on along Regency Drive and Rialto Drive. This is consistent with that. The same thing that we did in Hardy Place. They maintain their frontage landscaping there and Burnaway and Pine Hollow Road through their HOAs or their individual property owners. And this would be an HOA. And as a backup, and you'll see it in the staff report, should the HOA falter, there is a backup plan of a community facilities district that could be established or would be established as a backup in case for some reason in the future. And this is something the water board wants for the purposes of the stormwater detention basin, that should an HOA go belly up or financially walk away from their obligation, that there is a mechanism in place that could be put into motion to then undertake the appropriate maintenance and monitoring that is required by the state water board. And those are all covered by the conditions of approval.
Okay. So we probably have a billion questions. It was a very large packet. Anybody have any questions on the council here for Dana?
Yeah, I have a procedural question that Dana mentioned, and it's one that I'm just grappling with. She mentioned that the Planning Commission held 4 meetings, only 2 were public or accepted public comment. Why didn't they accept public comment the other 2?
It wasn't so much that the Planning Commission didn't accept public comment. Those first 2 meetings were very similar to, and the third one, I believe as well, was very similar to what the City Council did at your June 1st meeting, where the item was continued. So there was no presentation. It was simply we've noticed it, so we have to agendize it, and we'd like to just continue it to, from, in that case, from October to November, and then from November to December. So it wasn't that there was no opportunity for the public to comment, but simply that the item was recommended to be continued at the outset.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I do. I'm going to assume it's appropriate to ask this. We received a flurry of information right before the meeting. And I don't know if staff had time to review it. I know we got one maybe about 40 minutes before the meeting was going to start. I personally did not have time to review that. So if someone from staff can give me a brief overview of what that last document was, I can just see that it came in, but did not have time to review it.
Are you talking about the letter that came in?
Yes, I'm sorry. There was a letter that came in. I believe it was from the developers. Developers. Sure, exactly.
Attorneys.
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman, I think that would be best described by the developer's attorney, and give them an opportunity to address those points.
That would be great. And thanks for clarifying, because I wasn't exactly positive who sent it.
What do we intend to have the applicant who filed the appeal make a presentation and then also take public comment?
Oh, good.
That's probably what I would do.
Yeah, I might have a lot more questions after that.
Okay. Right. Anybody else?
From staff, if there's no questions of staff, next step would be the applicant to make a presentation.
Right, and we will invite them in now. Seems like no one else has anything they want to ask right now. So who do we have from the applicant today?
I'm going to, it says Louis Parsons, but I'll let Doug Chen introduce his team for everyone who's here with him.
Mayor Wolf,
there you go. There you go. Okay, you got to start over, Louis. Hear you. Welcome.
Okay. Really appreciate Mr. Mayor, council members, city manager, assistant city manager, city attorney, and Dana for letting us make this presentation and considering our appeal to the Planning Commission's recommendation for denial. Dana did such a great job on the presentation. I'm going to concentrate mostly on responding to the last minute comments that came in from various parties, and our outside counsel, Christina Berglund, is online too, and she will answer any legal questions because some of those items related to legal matters. And I know Christina has been working with the city attorney on some of those legal claims as far as non-compliance issues. Let me go to our, in regards to the Safe Mount Diablo letter claiming that that our property is in a high fire hazard area. Is the screen, can you see my screen?
I can't.
Cannot?
Are you putting up a presentation?
No, we don't see anything.
Okay, let me try this. Okay. Sure.
We do see you. There you go. Okay.
Can you see my screen now?
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. So there was a claim that our project is within a high fire hazard area and right next to a very high fire hazard area. That is incorrect. You can see we're right at the corner here. This is Marsh Creek Road, this orange line, and we're right at the inside city of Clayton, but right at the edge where we're not in any fire hazard zone. In fact, the next door development, the potential development next door, which is owned by the Moitas, they are in a moderate, high fire hazard area, but not us. You can see that the very high fire hazard area is red, and that's way out to the west. not even close to Clayton. The very high zones, high fire hazard zones, are pink. There are some areas nearby Clayton that's pink, but we're neither. We're not even moderate. Moderate would be yellow. So I just want to clarify that error in the Safe Mount Diablo letter. The other claim was that we're in a wildland urban interface area, and that is true. You can see that our development is right at the edge of Clayton. Let me get a better zooming area of that.
Have you got an electronic arrow where you can point to? Because I can't follow you.
Oh, you can't see my cursor?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. As soon as I put my cursor onto the PDF image, it becomes a cross. Can you see that?
It's a very light cross there, but yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to keep it an arrow and then just move straight up.
And now I got it. Now we're following. I got it.
So we're this triangular area, and you can see on the legend to the right that we're not in any high fire hazard area. Again, the potential development next door, owned by the Moitas, they are in a high fire hazard area.
May I ask a quick question really quick? Sorry to interrupt. But if you pan back out, it looks like all of the actual city proper doesn't have any fire hazard portion to it, right? So it looks like all of these actual developed cities don't have that, but it looks like the actual legend refers to mainly open space. Am I reading that right?
No, because if you look at a portion of, these are incorporated cities. You can barely see the city limit line. Some of these cities do have very high fire hazard areas, like Red, in Orinda, Lafayette. You can see a lot of them.
Okay, so those aren't open spaces within their cities.
Those are actually they're homes. Like there are actual homes over here.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Let me go back to this, and you can see nearby Clayton, there's some yellow moderate fire hazard zones, but we're nowhere close to that. So on the wildland interface comment, that is true. However, we're backed up against open space. Anytime when you're backed up against open space, there are fire code compliance issues. So this is really simply a code compliance issue, that when you're up against open space, the building code requires fire resistant construction. For example, non-combustible material on your siding, meaning that you don't use wood, you will use fiber cement siding, and so same with the roofing material. You wouldn't use wood shingles. You use either tile, clay, or Class A shingles. So again, I just want to respond quickly to the claims made in Safe Mount Diablo letter. And then also the homes now, all modern homes are required to have fire sprinklers, by the way. So that reduces the fire risk even further. And the other last minute letter received was mostly on Marsh Creek Road. Let me close this out. Compliance. Marsh Creek Road specific plan compliance issues. And we sent in the letter. You referred to a lot of letters being sent. One of the letters was from our council. The reason for our letter at the last minute was to respond to those letters alleging that we're not in compliance. And again, we have been addressing this with staff over the past several months since the Planning Commission meeting, and our council has been addressing the same matter with the city attorney. And I believe we're all in agreement that what we're proposing is in compliance with the Marsh Creek Road specific plan, and it's also consistent with the city standard for the size of our development.
Can they share a screen?
Yeah. Okay, so this is our tentative map, which Dana has shown already. And for 6 lots, well, actually, no, even beyond 6 lots, the city standard for roads is actually 20 feet. We're going 24 feet. And you can see in the lower left-hand corner, this is what we're conditioned to do. We're actually grading to accommodate the full 32 feet, while we're initially paving only 24 feet. And that's because we don't need the ultimate collector road, which is shown on your right-hand side over here, to serve only 6 lots. Now, the ultimate collector road, if the development next door ever gets approved, will be built and to be in compliance with a specific plan. But there is no development today, so this road is not needed. But we're showing that to show you that we are offering for dedication on the final map the full 48 feet, so that in the future the ultimate collector road can be built. And if you have more questions concerning whether we're in compliance or not in compliance, our counsel is ready to answer any questions on that. Do you have any questions on the concerning Southbrush Lane, the width of the road? There seems to be a lot of questions on that.
Yeah, help me understand it, because isn't that the crux of the whole problem? 48 feet versus 56, isn't that the issue?
Oh, okay. It's never. I'm sorry. The 56 feet was just simply a mistake. The Marsh Creek Road specific plan calls for the right of way to be 48 feet. That's what it says in the Marsh Creek Road specific plan, and that's what we're providing. That's what we will be providing on day one. The 48 feet.
Which is what? In compliance with whom?
With the specific plan. The specific plan calls for 48 feet right away, which is what we're providing.
And are you grading the full 48 feet?
Yes, we are. Go up. Yeah. You can see that we're offering for dedication the full 48 feet, and we're grading from the right-of-way line to the right-of-way line.
And just very quickly, this is Louis Parsons. I'm associate at Doug Chen's. Again, just to outline that issue. Again, the Marsh Creek Road specific plan requires a 48-foot ultimate right-of-way dedication with a 32-foot ultimate paved roadway. The land adjacent to us is not within the city, and development plans have not been approved for that site. So what the city's done is understanding that that project may be built, may be annexed in the future adjacent to us. So on our project, the city is requiring us to dedicate that right-of-way and grade for that ultimate right-of-way. But since there's only 6 lots, the city is only requiring us to build 24 feet of pavement, because that's more than sufficient to serve this project. At such time as the adjacent property, if it gets approved by the city and if it gets annexed to the city, the right-of-way dedication will be there to allow for the widening, the additional 8 feet of asphalt widening necessary to comply with the specific plan. But at this time, as outlined in our letters, it's not our obligation to upsize that roadway. It is our obligation, though, to dedicate the right-of-way and account for that ultimate roadway.
And you're doing that only because there is some perceived belief that at some point the city is going to annex beyond the city limit, urban limit line, and so forth. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Diaz, that is correct. 2 reasons.
Yeah, because if everybody understands how the annexation process works, it ain't going to happen in my lifetime, I got to tell you.
And understanding, yes, that it's a very complex process dealing with the local agency formation commission. And
Absolutely,
and
you hit it on the head right there.
yeah. That being said, though, understanding that it is a possibility in the future, and so staff has indicated that if that does occur, they do want to have the requisite right-of-way dedicated to comply with the specific plan, which we are doing. And not only are we agreeing to offer,
right,
we're agreeing to make the offer of dedication, but we're also grading for it.
Right.
And but you wouldn't build the full 32 feet of asphalt for something that is pretty speculative adjacent to us.
Right.
Does there exist currently an easement against this property to access the property to the east?
You're talking about the Moita parcel?
I don't know the proper owner, but whatever parcel is to the east.
So the Moitas, they own that parcel right to the east of us, and they do have their own driveway cut along Marsh Creek Road to access.
Well, I mean, I guess my question was, it's very specific. Does there exist an easement against your property right now?
No, there is not.
Okay.
They have their own access.
Okay, thank you.
To add on to Jeff's question, if you look at the possibility of future, even if it's 5 or 10%, the possibility that it may be built out in the future, would residents of whatever development that may exist in the future have access through Oak Creek Road, Canyon Road, to that development, as is necessary through the Marsh Creek Road specific plan? It's collector.
Wait, where's Oak Creek Canyon Road?
It's Saltbrush Lane now.
Okay.
And the answer to that question is yes. As conditioned, the offer of we have to make an offer of dedication on our final map. So in order to record this final map and create these lots, we have to offer that dedication to the city.
Does that mean that Saltbrush becomes a city street?
That would be up to the city. So even though it's offered for dedication, my understanding and my discussions with staff is that the city will not accept this as a public road initially, at least initially. It will be a privately maintained road, even though the offer of dedication is made on the final map. This is just because of the budget. The city does not want to maintain a road just to serve 6 lots. And so it's in the conditions of approval that the HOA will be maintaining Saltbrush Lane, as well as all the other common areas.
So then as indicated in our agendized item, when you say offer, does that mean that if it gets approved, does an easement get created for access?
No, it does not. It's just an offer of dedication. So if the city accepts the offer, then it becomes a public road. There's no need for an easement.
So if the city does not accept the offer, then what is the outcome?
That remains a private road. So if that's a private road, no one should be driving over that except for the 6 lot owners and their
so unless the city accepts the offer, then the parcel to the east will not have access through Saltbrush Lane. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
And the reason it was set up that way by city staff is in the event that the city ultimately, the property owner ultimately obtains approvals on the adjacent property, obtains all their entitlement and environmental approval with the city, and then ultimately gets approval from the local agency formation commission to annex that property. The city then is in control and can say, well, we have an offer of dedication from us for Salt Fresh Lane, not only for the requisite right-of-way for them, but for the ultimate right-of-way per the Marsh Creek Road specific plan. They've offered the full dedication of the road. And so the obligation of the adjacent developer, they would have access if the city so chose to grant them their approval.
How long is the offer good for? Is it forever?
It is forever.
Yeah, it's going to be on the final map.
Can we give it back?
Excuse me?
I mean, if we accept the offer, can we say no? Never mind, my bad, and give it back to you? No.
Well, no, you would. Now there is it's a little technical, but there are instances where a city, there's an offer of dedication, the city accepts it, and then there's a possibility that the city, if they act on accepting the offer of dedication and then they decide to rescind it, it goes back to the entity that dedicated it. In this case, we've set it up in a manner where Salt Brush Lane is going to be privately maintained by the HOA. So there's going to be no cost the city incurs. The city is just, or city staff is just wisely requiring us to offer the dedication in the event that the potential event that the adjacent property is approved for development by the city and annexed to the city, and thus would negate any access issues because the offer dedication is made when we record our final map.
Would that be disclosed in the HOA formation documents that has the potential to occur?
Absolutely. It would be everything related to the Marsh Creek Road specific plan and potential development to occur to the east. One of the things we know in this business is over disclose. So we would disclose this possibility. We would disclose the possibility of Salt Fresh Lane becoming a public roadway. We would disclose the possibility of Salt Fresh Lane widening. It's just right now, there are no plans. That I'm aware of, there's no plans submitted to the city for processing on the adjacent property. There's no discussions with the local agency formation commission for annexing that property. So what we're doing is we're trying to move forward with this development by accommodating every potential future scenario that could occur related to development adjacent to us.
A couple of things. Jeff, the condition of approval on item 39E specifically states they had to disclose that to the future homeowners. I personally would be challenged to own lot 6, knowing that that would be a potential, but that's up to whoever purchases it. I get it. Hey, I got a question relative to one of the items on the conditions of approval, item number 108. It said utilities are going to extend to the eastern border along the entire extent of the project road to the eastern property border for future possible expansion. My question is, you specified a 6-inch, I think, water line and an 8-inch sanitary sewer. Are those, and you took it to the eastern border, would those service 100-unit development if that ever came to fruition, or would something much larger need to be put in?
So the development to the owners to the east has not provided us with any engineering plans. So
it's a hypothetical question. I'm just, because I know you're taking it all the way out, but would that service that, or would you need to put in something much larger?
Yes, most likely. Yes,
yeah.
They will have to get their own approval, do their own engineering analysis.
Again, I'm just talking hypotheticals right now because if this were to happen, even in the low percentage I've talked about, would whatever improvements for water and sewer to be tied into Marsh Creek, would that need to go under that 16-foot vegetative easement that would need to be put in if a future development were to happen, and not under the northern easement which you have for all your utilities?
They may very well have to put in a separate line or upsize the existing line at that time. So when they get approval from CCWD, that will be determined at that time.
Yeah, and one of the things related to utility sizing, I mean, if we're looking at just a hypothetical situation, we don't know if they're going to 100 lots, 50 lots, 20 lots. Everything has to be calced. So we represented that we would, if they provide us their development plan or what they're doing, the problem is we don't have their plans. We don't have their application. So yes, the ultimate utility sizing for whatever they end up building would need to be accommodated for. Now I can say an 8-inch sewer line does accommodate a significant amount of units. We have 200 or 300 unit subdivisions that tie into an 8-inch line. That all has to be modeled. It all has to be analyzed with the, this is the city of Concord, but I understand your question, but we're talking in complete hypotheticals.
And I get that. I just thought it was odd that it would be taken all the way to the end, to the east end of the property, if the intention was it might be connected to a possible future extension. And I was just wondering if that was the question.
Yeah.
I mean, can I interrupt for a sec? I mean, ultimately, I don't think that's on the table here. That whatever happens or doesn't happen to the east isn't really a matter that's for our consideration at this point. I mean, a hypothetical is a hypothetical. It's an interesting thought exercise, but at the same time, I don't think it's pertinent to decision making that we may undertake here because it's not in front of us.
But what does it mean then on number 105 when it reads all utilities shall be sized to accommodate build out of the Marsh Creek Road specific plan or provide for future annexation and development envisioned in the Marsh Creek specific plan, road specific plan? Does that not mean, to me, that's something that we should have to consider tonight?
I think I would ask that question to staff as they indicated that as one of the conditions, because it seems like that's asking us to opine on something that could be anything. I mean, it could be I don't know. Did someone say that there's a certain number of units that exist right now? So there could be a certain number of units now. It could be a much greater number of units or whatever. And I think to accommodate for those things are very different.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask staff what the intention was behind that.
So let me just maybe a quick way to answer that is that, either we know how many lots are going to be developed to the east. The owner to the east can tell us they're going to develop 50 lots, 110 lots, we don't know. Then they can size it and tell us what size they need. But the condition also says, or provide for future annexation and development. So we do provide the full right-of-way, so you can install any size utility you want within the 48-foot right-of-way. That would be for the utility companies, for CCWD or City of Clayton, Concord in analyzing water and sewer, what size would be needed. But the right-of-way to accommodate those utilities are there.
And just augmenting that answer, when we go through the construction documents, we're going to put in whatever utility lines the city tells us to put in. The problem that the city has and the problem that we have is that we don't know exactly what the development plan is for the adjacent property. So it's very difficult to, specifically and accurately size utilities when you don't know what the development plan is. But what I can say is a 6-inch water line, it's 100 units sounds like a lot of units, but the sewer line and water line that we are providing, I believe would probably be sufficient to serve that project. But if we needed to do some upsizing, and that's something that the city engineering staff would want us to do in order to comply with the utility conditions, we would certainly accommodate that.
But at this point, the plans that you have proposed is to potentially accommodate for a very speculative development beyond the city line, city limit. Is that speculative? No plan in hand, so how do you do it? So you plan for what you think at this point, correct?
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is just with, we're at the tentative map stage, and with every city, when we come in and we start working on the construction documents, and if there's communication from the adjacent property owner or there's direction that we're getting from the city and discussion saying, well, you know, it looks like this sewer line is going to need to be this to comply with this condition of approval, we're going to do it. I do know, though, that, you know, we have 6 units here. I guess there's the potential for approximately 100 units on the adjacent property. I don't think the sewer is going to be an issue, and I don't think the water is going to be an issue. But again, that's something we'd model and get approval from city staff on before getting our construction documents approved.
If I can jump in a little bit, I think the point here is that the applicant is providing the utilities for their project. As Lewis indicated, it may be possible that future development to the east could use the existing utility lines that are being provided with this project for water and sewer in the Salt Bush Lane right-of-way. But if additional lines are needed, I think what's important to note here is that the developer, this current developer, is providing the adequate right-of-way to install those future lines if they're determined to be needed, which they may not be. It could be that the existing lines that will be installed with this project will be adequate, but if an additional, a second parallel line is needed to provide water or to provide potable water or for conveyance of wastewater, that the right-of-way space is there. And to Councilmember Tillman's point of condition number 5 of 105, we can clarify that language a little bit just to state that the developer needs to provide adequate space for utilities for future annexation. So we can tweak that language a little bit to make it more clear that what we're trying to say is you need to either provide the utilities or make sure that there is adequate space to expand those utilities if necessary in the future.
Okay, great. And then Dana, while we have you, can I just ask you a quick question? I think to piggyback off of what Peter and Jeff were asking earlier regarding Salt Bush Lane and possibly having access. So can you explain to me what offer of dedication means? So I know that the homeowners association is going to be paying to maintain the road. And then if we decide to take them up on their offer, it will then become on the city to provide services for it and maintain it. Is that what's going to happen?
Yes. So the final map is going to show these 6 lots that are seen here, and it's going to show this 48-foot wide swath of land that is offered for dedication to the city. Now, when the city approves the final map, the city can accept that offer of dedication at that time or not. It's going to be offered to the city. It's that offer either gets accepted by the city or it sits on the table until the city's ready to accept it, which could be years. But either way, it's recorded in the final subdivision map for these 9 acres. I think there was also a question that was asked about could the city ever give it back? And I believe Lewis spoke to this. There is a rather technical process in, I believe it's in Streets and Highways Code, to abandon a right-of-way that's been accepted. So if the city decides it accepts it, it maintains the road, and then for whatever reason the city wants to give it back, there is a process to do that, to abandon a right-of-way, and then it reverts to the property owners.
I do want to be clear that process really can't be used once it's been opened up as a public street and used as a public street.
Okay.
So I don't want there to be a perception that we've accepted it as a public street, we've used it as a public street, now we want to give it up.
That was more of a throwaway question, so we've already spent way too much time on it.
A little bit of a joke.
So
real quick question.
Go ahead.
No, the offer of dedication, if we were to accept it, is there a fee to the city to accept that, or is that just part of the process?
It's an offer of dedication. It's a gift.
It's just we have to start.
Although streets are incredibly expensive to maintain. So
yeah, the maintenance responsibility upon acceptance of the right of way, the maintenance responsibility would fall on the shoulders of the city. But the city, if that offer of dedication is written into the final map, the city doesn't have to then pay for that land, if that's what your question is.
Yeah, I think the trend that we've had lately about, PD zoning, where we make the streets for developments private so that the city doesn't have to pick up the tab is a good thing for our budget.
Why the change of name to Saltbrush Lane?
Oh,
If I can just add, Mayor, the actual street name is just a working name at this time. Pursuant to the city council policy, the actual name will be brought back for the council to consider pursuant to their policy at a later date.
But isn't it part of the Marsh Creek Road specific plan as Oak Creek Canyon Drive or whatever it is?
Well, the council actually adopted a different street naming policy thereafter, and so we would follow up with that policy and procedure at the appropriate time.
Thank you. What about
before they record their final map?
I didn't notice it. I may have missed it in the packet. Because are there any improvements to Marsh Creek Road? Turning lane, for instance.
The turning lanes are already there. There are turn pockets. The medians are already there. The developer would add landscaping in the medians and along the frontage of Marsh Creek Road, as well as a sidewalk along the property frontage.
Right. And that's going to go all
the property in Marsh Creek Road.
That's going all the way to the park, right?
No, it's the developer's obligation is to install, well, if the developer wants to, they certainly can, but the developer's obligation is to provide frontage improvements at the frontage of their property. If they wanted to be generous, they certainly could go all the way to the intersection where the sidewalk picks up from there to the park.
I thought I could be wrong, but I thought I saw it in the packet that they were going to make it possible for people to walk all the way to the park.
Or have a path to get to the park. I thought maybe it's within the development.
So the sidewalk that's proposed is proposed in the Marsh Creek Road right of way. The city is looking at some other options to close the gap between the edge of the property and the intersection. I'm not sure how much that distance is, but it's a rather short gap.
I had asked at a previous time about the cost of a sidewalk, and it was some ungodly amount, like $6,000 a foot or something like, I don't know, it was something ridiculous. And then there was a suggestion that rather than a full-fledged sidewalk, there was a technical name for this that maybe you know. It was like a mixed use path, not a sidewalk, but like a mixed pedestrian bicycle path. That was
the library and stuff.
I don't know what the name of it is. There's a name for something like that, and it was incredibly cheaper, like much cheaper. I don't remember the ratio, but it was like 5 times cheaper. And so I don't know if I mean, I don't think a full-fledged sidewalk at that remote area of town, you know,
we might want to hold to questions at this point. And if there's some brainstorming that the city council would like to have with respect to possible changes to the conditions of approval, I might suggest that we.
When is an appropriate time for that?
It's not concrete, it's decomposed granite.
When would be an appropriate time to engage in that discussion?
I would say wait until the public hearing, till you're in deliberation before we start trying to negotiate or tweak conditions of approval. If there's simply a question of how much does a sidewalk cost or what is a sidewalk surface, as Laura just responded, then we can answer those questions now. I want to make sure we're not getting too far ahead in terms of process where we start brainstorming.
Specifically to the Oak Creek Canyon, where are the ConocoPhillips and the Shell pipelines?
They are along the eastern boundary.
Are they on the property itself or are they off the property?
They are on the property.
Call before you dig.
No doubt.
So what is the plan then? I had thought I'd heard at the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservancy that maybe the ConocoPhillips line is going to be shut down eventually. But what is the plan? Do you have to leave them the way they are? Are you moving them, or what's the plan?
So I would have the developer provided some information to staff on that. I'll go ahead and let you answer.
We have coordinated with the pipeline operators, and they sent us what their requirements are, the setback requirements. So there's a 20-foot 20-foot wide actual easement for the pipeline, and then there's a 45-foot easement for working. So as long as we stay outside the 45-foot easement, we're fine. We're not grading over, cutting over the pipeline. We are doing some grading within what they call a 45-foot work easement, but that's not the actual pipeline. That's actually enough space so that the oil operators go in there and do future work. They want the 45-foot area width to be cleared.
Okay.
Hey, Dana, quick question. On page 6, there's a condition required to provide one low-income housing unit off-site. Can you tell me what that might look like?
That's number 5, isn't it?
Oh, it was on page 6 of the slide, but regardless, but what's that?
Number 5.
Go back to the condition.
Condition 22, page 3 of 21.
Page 3 of 21.
Yeah, condition 22.
So we have a condition to provide one low-income unit, and you notice that in your booklet, just for as an example, you don't see this. And in working with Dana and Laura, they recommended that we think about how this ADU unit could fit within our proposed products. And Eddie, who is our in-house architect, is here to answer any questions on that. So we can easily convert the junior master bedroom downstairs into an ADU unit. That's what you see on your screen. So without what's to the left is the optional ADU unit, which won't be an option if we have to build at least one of these, but it may be, we could build more than one if that's a desired option by the buyer. So yeah, so that's just showing you how the ADU unit will fit in to our existing footprint. And we're using lot 5 as an example. And that, again, that would be a low income, classified as a low income unit.
It will be unit?
Deed restricted. Yes, it will be deed restricted.
So if you did a split of, let's say, lot 5, and you made an ADU unit, that ADU unit would be a deed restricted unit, here's what you're saying.
Not the main house, the ADU unit itself will be deed restricted. It has its own separate entrance.
And it has we've done this, this is Lewis Parsons, we've done this in quite a lot of municipalities where if we do have an accessory dwelling unit as part of the structure, we, based on the income classifications, the amount of rent is capped. So when it goes to be rented, the rent would be substantially lower than a market rate a market rate apartment rent. And so we've done this in various municipalities. We've done it in Dublin, done it in Pittsburgh, other cities.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, would the landlord be responsible for that and imposing those rent restrictions, or would that be a third party entity?
It's actually a recorded document. So we were in the other cities, the city has reviewed the document, looked at the calculation of the rent that's charged, and then it's recorded on the property. So it's a disclosure. As far as enforcement and compliance, that'd probably be up to the city. In this case, the good part about it is if there's an accessory dwelling unit incorporated into this project and there's a homeowners association, that can be incorporated into the HOA approval documents. And so not only would the city have enforceability rights based on review and approval of the CC&Rs, but also the HOA would have enforceability provisions. So if there was a renter there, they would get approval from the HOA that would stipulate what allowable rent could be charged.
So
Also,
just by way of information for timing, if these get constructed at some point in the future, which arena cycle do we get credit for it in?
It's this the credit gets applied to when the unit gets built.
So can you delay that to our next cycle?
It may come down to that anyway.
Anyways, I'm just messing with you. You do whatever you want on that. So I guess there was the other question I had. I guess maybe Dana, you're the appropriate person for this. There's been a lot of assertions whether or not the plans as indicated conform to the Marsh Creek specific plan. And in reading the staff report, I'm interpreting the staff report to say that that city staff believes that the plans as indicated conform to the Marsh Creek specific plan if we adopt it with all the changes that are indicated. Is that an accurate interpretation?
Yes.
Okay.
And in reviewing in staff's analysis in general with consistency with specific plans and general plans, the project doesn't have to be consistent with every single letter of every single policy or goal that's listed in a document, but it has to be consistent with the overall goals, objectives, and policies of the document. So, but yes, as is explained in the staff report and in the resolutions that are attached to the staff report, staff does believe that it is consistent with the overall goals, objectives, and policies of the specific plan.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody have any other questions before we take some comment from the public?
I would just make sure the developer doesn't have any further presentation to share.
Sounds like
no. Mayor Wolf and members of the council, we just really appreciate the opportunity. We're here. We have our architect here, and we're here to answer any questions you guys have. And very much appreciate the time and opportunity to present this project to you.
You.
Yeah, right. One last question before you leave. I'm just curious. If this were entitled, when do you have a thought process of when you might develop it?
Yeah, if we were granted approval, we have to go through the development of the plan process, but it is a smaller job. So ideally, we would commence the land improvements in the beginning of the grading season next year.
I don't really know what that means. Is that a specific?
I'm sorry, that'd be we would start in March or April and grade, and we would probably do, since it's 6 homes, we'd probably do a full release all 6 homes at the same time.
And then before we go to public comment, I just have a quick question just to address some of the information that was in the letters. Again, apologies that it was in the attorney's rebuttal, but there was speculation that the neighbors' access, the road access would be cut off. Could you, either your attorney or the developer, speak to that? I know that you said that they had their own access road, but if we look at the map, if we can bring that up again, I'm just curious if any portion of your 9 acres is impeding them getting to their homes.
Let me just jump in and mention that they're not getting access through our property today, so we're not cutting anything off. They do have their own driveway cut along Marsh Creek Road. And I think in Dana's presentation, she actually showed the Marsh Creek Road frontage, that they have their own access. Let me see if I can go back to a page up here.
Yeah, I mean, I believe, Holly, the assertion that you're referring to is in a letter that was attached late in the day today that said, I think it asserted that this would block the current access to my home that I have used for 30 years, and that was written by Jim Moida.
Thank
or
you.
It was signed by Jim Moida. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I just don't have it in front of me. Thank you.
Okay. And it says it will block the current access that the Morgan family has used for 150 years. So I guess those are either true or false. And
yeah,
is it your assertion that they are false?
That's correct. That's not accurate.
Jim,
the Voighters are not getting access through our parcel today. They have
that road doesn't. This road doesn't exist. I mean, it's an empty lot field with a fence on it.
Right. Their driveway cuts right here. If you can see my cursor, their driveway cut today is right here.
And is that going straight? So will I continue north from there? And that's looks like it's part of lot 6, or does it cut more to your east?
I actually live right here. That's to the east. There's a gated entryway that has like a little electric gate, and so they gain access through this little side road here.
That one. Okay, thank you.
You know, and I would just like to add that whether that is actually true or false from a legal perspective is irrelevant. I mean, there's legal authority. I mean, this amounts to a private dispute between private property owners, and the legal authority supports that the city would not adjudicate a private easement dispute between property owners. So really, the city has no obligation to intervene here.
I think that was the content of your letter, Ms. Berglund.
Go ahead,
That's
Jeff.
correct. We did provide that in our email response and the letter.
I just wanted to be sure it wasn't going through lot 6, which is what it looked like to me, but I can see now that it's further to the east. So thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant or Dana or anybody? Okay. So
Thank you.
And I think Jim White is on the call somewhere. So if he wants to clarify, he certainly has the opportunity during public comment. And so if you'll stop sharing your screen, we can go to public comment. And Janet, I think I saw one hand up for sure.
And it is Mayor Wolf of public hearing. So
Sorry,
I think you were opening the public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Wolf, I have Cheryl. Cheryl, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Cheryl, you're muted right now. Cheryl, if you could unmute yourself, we can hear you.
Cheryl had her hand up from the beginning of the section, so she may have stepped away.
Are there any other hands raised, Janet?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Hi, Cheryl.
Hello. Sorry about that.
Sound like you're walking in the wind.
As I was saying, I'm outside walking to get signal because we're way out here. My family has accessed our land through this right of way for more than 100 years. And as of this time, I offer both a warning and a concern. CINO is not an honest broker. They do not negotiate with us in any legitimate or positive manner. They intend to cut it off. They intend to use cutting off the road as a threat to force us to try to sell our property to them. That's why they're putting development access through their property, should they want to access it, should they purchase the property behind it in the future. I would ask you to postpone this decision till the CINO organization acts in a legitimate manner and negotiates with adjacent property owners. And as a warning, they're lying to us on a regular basis. They're threatening us on a regular basis. If they're willing to do that to us, what are they doing to you? Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Anybody else?
Our next speaker is Jim. Jim, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me?
Hey, hi, Jim.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, reasonably well. So I just was asking, I've been trying to negotiate access for over 20 years. And over the last month, I met with Albert CINO III, I think once or twice, and talked to him on the phone a few times. We we're supposed to sign an agreement on Friday, and he sent it to me. I sent it back to him, and he said he was going to have it signed plus a license agreement for me to use the road. And that did not happen. So I'm not sure why that didn't happen, but it didn't. So I'm requesting that you postpone your decision until the next meeting so that we can try to finalize the agreement. Our road that we use and that Cheryl uses doesn't have great sight lines. And the concern about us losing access was written by the former city engineer in a letter that you received today. For 32 years, he wrote that letter. I didn't. So I'm not an engineer, but I was concerned that if it was developed and he put it in writing, that there is a concern. And so obviously the city employs a city engineer who is a tenant in a Forestino building. And so that's a concern. But, obviously you can analyze these things. What I'd like to do is see if you can postpone it for a month so we can meet with them and see if we can get an agreement. If any one of the city council go to our current driveway and try to get out at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, our sight lines, and you'll notice that I spray that hill 100, 200 feet to the south of us because it's unsafe when cars are coming from Brentwood or out of the town. So our sight lines are bad. And I would request that we gain access. We joined the Marsh Creek Specific Plan in 1990. We invested in it to have safer access. And right now, we will not have access. CINA was blocking us from access. And that was supposed to be part of the deal to join the Marsh Creek Road Specific Plan, was to build houses. And that was why I haven't processed it, because I've been blocked. Now I had a glimmer of light that it would actually be an agreement that was sent to me. I sent it back signed. I changed the dollar amount. That was about it. But we would like to finalize those terms. And right now, if you approve this, then I would never have access to a road that I helped plan with checks that were deposited 30 years ago. And so I would request, respectively, that you postpone making a decision until we have a chance to finalize an agreement for access that has safer sight lines. Because if you stand at our driveway and you try to pull out and they're going 60 miles an hour, you'll get hit. We've almost been hit several times. So it's unsafe there. And that's my primary concern. Also, I've never seen a subdivision where you put a road in and you do not put the whole road in, which is what they're doing essentially, again, making it narrower and blocking access. I negotiated with him in good faith. I've been contacting them for 20 years. In the last month, I did meet with Albertino III, and I had a glimmer of light that I actually have an access agreement, but that seemed to have not happened. And I think the gentleman's a fine gentleman, and it's a business point, but no one likes to negotiate for 20 years and not get a deal.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. And
Thank you so much.
You mentioned one thing about the city engineer I didn't quite understand. Would you repeat that statement so I can understand it? You said something about employing a city engineer. I didn't get that part.
Well, I was concerned that, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your city engineer. I think I've actually met with him before, but he works for a company that's a tenant in a building that CINO owns.
Which city engineer are we talking about?
Happy to answer that question and clarify it, Mayor Wolf. I think it might be helpful. The former city engineer, he is not our city engineer now, I think has been hired by Mr. Moita and drafted a letter on behalf of Mr. Moita, not on behalf of the city, that referenced prescriptive easements. And so it doesn't relate to this subdivision. It's a private matter, as has been previously articulated. And there's no reason, nor would I recommend for the city to get involved in the private matter between the two parties.
Right, but that's not my statement. Who is your current city engineer?
Straka. Yeah. The former city engineer you referenced in your letter hasn't been with the city over 2 years.
No, I understand that. He was there 32 years. He wrote the letter, but that's not the issue. I'm asking, who is the city engineer for the city of Clayton today?
Well, we're contracting out. Wasn't he on the call earlier today?
Yeah, Harrison Associates.
Yes, and Harrison Associates is in a Sino building.
What are you implying?
Well, I'm just saying it's a concern of mine.
What is your concern?
If you were to look, I was told by your prior city engineer that the sight lines for my driveway were not safe. And I think that if you went and looked at it, just each individually, went out there at 8 o'clock in the morning and tried to pull out of my driveway, you would realize our sight lines are bad.
But okay, so be that as it may, I'm not disputing that. I know where it is. I drive that road all the time.
Yes.
What I'm trying to find the relevance between being a tenant in a building owned by someone within the Sino organization.
No comment. Never. It's just a frustration of mine.
Oh, okay. So regarding the sightline, though, people drive hella fast on that road. So I would love to throttle traffic coming from the east on that road down to like nothing. It would make your exit safer, and it would make traffic less for everyone in the city. But that's not on the table at the moment.
Well, what is on the table is a new road that I believe I joined in planning. In 1990, I paid fees to the city to use that road. And if you look at the conditions of approval right now, I don't get to use that road. And so I have a health and safety access issue here.
Wait, can I clarify?
Sure.
When we talked about earlier, the proposed road that is going to be with this development, that's going to be offered to the city. And if it were accepted by the city, then is it correct that your property and the adjacent properties would then have access through that road?
Well, we'd have to change the existing easements for the Morgans. Yes.
Well, if the city accepts the road as offered, then it would become a public road, and the entire public would have access. Is that accurate?
I would think so. Yes. But if you don't, I think that the question was asked and the question was answered that I would not be able to use that road. And so
yes, if the city does not accept the road, then you would be, then the status of your access would be the status quo.
It would be the status quo. So
yes.
I'm
requesting each of you to go out and stand there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you'll see my problem.
That doesn't change, Jim, the status quo.
Well, that's why you have a plan, the Mash Creek Road specific plan, that makes things safer. That was the whole intent. When the city wrote me a letter in 1990 and said, please join us to plan this area for homes, 1, and 2, better access, I invested in your plan. This is many generations of mayors, council members ago. There was a plan that was to be safer, specifically in part for me. That's why I joined it. So I'm asking you as a council to look at the health and safety situation. I would hate to get killed, my wife or anybody else in my family, because of an unsafe road. And right now you're deciding a width of a road and also an access for me for an undetermined period of time when I might be able to get access there. And if you invested in the plan 30 years ago, it was adopted 26 years ago, it started 30 years ago, 31 years ago, to plan it, and it was adopted by your city, and I'm asking for safe access, and you're saying, well, Mr. Sino doesn't want to give it to you. Okay. I'm not, I don't think it's fair. And of course, my son's written a letter. And so we would have to do whatever we have to do. But I'm requesting, respectively, that you look at my access and you look at the plan you have in front of you, the Marsh Creek Road specific plan that solves a problem. It says, Mr. Moita, if you can use this road, that you don't have to worry about getting killed.
So, Mayor, if I might add, you do have at least one other hand up. So
certainly, I'm sorry.
I think it's.
I'm going to move Mr. Moita out and Janet move the other Mr. Moita in.
Moita in, yeah, that's right.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Tell me again how much time we're allowing each speaker.
It wasn't a 3-minute thing, Jim. I think we all had, at least certainly I had questions.
Well, I've got questions for the next gentleman.
Okay, all right.
All
Okay.
right, Vince, you've been promoted to panelist. If you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you, council, and thank you, staff, for all the time that's gone into this. And also thank you to the scene organization. I think that they have generally a great project. We're very happy to see housing coming in. This has been a long time coming. We've been very excited to see the eventual build out of the Marsh Creek Road specific plan. With that being said, we believe that the current project that's in front of you, one, now it's good to actually see what they're proposing. And we believe that we're close to striking a deal for access, and we're close to getting this out of the public sphere and negotiating between private parties to figure out the financing mechanism as proposed by the Marsh Creek Road specific plan. However, we haven't reached it yet. So one, we're asking for a continuance of the proposed project to be continued until August 17th. By that time, we believe that we can actually negotiate an easement, or not an easement, but a financing mechanism to pay for the difference in the road from the 24 feet to the 32 feet, which we believe the Marsh Creek Road specific plan requires. Two, if that access agreement is not, or if the continuance can't be granted, we respectfully request that the proposed project be denied. The proposed project is not in conformance with the Marsh Creek Road specific plan. See figure 13. A big concern here has been the traffic control. For one, the proposed Marsh Creek Road specific plan states that there should be a light here as a mechanism for controlling traffic. But in addition, the Marsh Creek Road specific plan specifically states that the road should be 32 feet. That is the entire crux of the issue here, going from 24 feet to 32 feet. Our issue, and the reason that we've been trying to negotiate with the scene organization, is to reach the 32 feet. And we've been offering good, hard consideration, actual monies to get that. We're getting close to an agreement, but we haven't reached it yet. We're asking this council to please continue the item to August 17th to reach the negotiation, to allow us time to finish out the agreement and come to a mutually global solution for everybody. If not, we reserve our rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim, you had a couple of questions?
Well, yeah. I mean, are we going to, I'm getting conflicted information here. I called the city manager today, and it was unclear whether or not you guys out there are close to an agreement or not. So if you're saying that you want us to continue this to sometime in mid-August, you believe by that time you can come to an agreeable decision here on 24 feet versus 32 feet?
Isn't that specifically what Mala just told us not to do? Like, essentially, if there's a discussion between private entities on a matter that is not before us, it is really not our place, or would it be appropriate for us to intercede? Because then we're like, well, there's bad stuff all around, I will say.
Somewhat liable.
And I want to be clear, and the applicant can address this. The applicant is not requesting a continuance, and there is nothing preventing the applicant and the neighboring property from continuing their negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, in the previous case where we opened this matter, I forget when, it was in May or something like that. You know, the applicant and the city staff requested that we continue the hearing, and it seemed like they had the appropriate standing. I know standing's not technically what we're talking about here, but they were the appropriate parties to request a continuance because they were essentially the parties that had the action. This is a request by a member of the public that's not an applicant nor an appellant. And it really does sound like this is a request in order for a private dispute when we have an issue that's ripe for adjudication.
I don't see any more hands raised, Janet, and we could bring that back to close the public comment if there are no more hands.
That is correct, Mayor Wolf. There are no other hands raised on this item.
We'll close the public testimony and the public hearing and bring it back to the council. We can have these discussions now. I agree. I think Jeff was right. Mala basically said we have to back away from this kind of a negotiation between two parties that putting the city involved, it doesn't do anything for us except put us into jeopardy. But
can we talk about the sidewalk? Is now the right time to talk about the sidewalk?
Yeah.
So I live even further east of this thing here, outside the 500 feet though. And there's no way to walk from there to in town. And then there's a short section of road that I would say is incredibly dangerous because as Mr. Moita, the first, indicated, cars travel on that road like in excess of 65 miles an hour, I will say, on a regular basis. The posted limit is 45. They travel very quickly. I would love to see what the record for citation is on that road, but I bet you it is almost in 100 miles an hour because people go crazy fast. And so, you know, a sidewalk could be very expensive, but maybe the developer is open to improving walk access for residents within the city so that they can, you know, walk more at a lower cost. You know, that could be good. I know that, you know, when we talk, this property is on the, I'm looking at the map now. This property, I thought I was looking at the map. I don't know, here, is on the north side of Marsh Creek Road. But, you know, these 6 units will be the only units within the city limits that are on the north side of Marsh Creek Road to the east of the community park, Regency Drive. But there are many houses, many residents, including me, that have access, that live on the south side of Marsh Creek Road, including those folks that live off of Diablo Parkway and I don't even know, Marsh Creek Road. There's like a little subdivision there. I think there's like 6 or 7 houses back there as well. You know, all the folks from Pine Lane, all the folks from Oakwood, you know, all the folks from Diablo Parkway, they can access the road or, access the street and walk. So if there's a way that I don't know if there's a sufficient nexus to require, but maybe there's a grounds to request and see if the builder is amiable to something to improve the walkability, and maybe not a full sidewalk because that's hell of expensive, but maybe something cheaper like a path. I don't know if that's something that they'd be open to, but that seems like it could add to the benefit of the residents of the city. Me too.
Jeff, are you suggesting that a sidewalk be put in so that they could walk to downtown?
Not a sidewalk. Just a path, any paved path that's off the road. Because right now you have to walk on the street.
Right. No, I know, because I say you're right.
But, and I'm saying that there's a difference. There's a difference.
Myself.
Yeah, I do it, but it's, you know, cars go hella fast. But there's a difference between a sidewalk and like a cheaper paved path that doesn't need to conform to all the compliance requirements of a sidewalk. I think, and I bet you the people on this call could probably give a better answer to that.
I would, if you don't mind, Councilmember One, I just want to interrupt very briefly and just clarify that they've proposed a decomposed granite pathway, which is not a typical sort of monolithic concrete curb sidewalk. And they proposed that DG surface along their frontage.
So they did not extend all the way to Regency.
They don't go all the way, right. It doesn't go all the way to the intersection of Regency Drive. And I believe on the other side of Regency Drive, there's an existing sidewalk, but there is a gap there between where their DG sidewalk ends and the intersection.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if I'm looking at the map, if we, you know, I don't know what we call that. You want to call it DG? All right, we can call it that.
Decomposed granite.
Yeah. So, you know, I really like the idea of making it easier for people in town to walk. So that's just my 2 cents.
Laura, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to say maintenance did take a look at this situation and their preferences for the DG. It's consistent with where we have other areas. The ground here is subject to changes in location, as well as the utility pipelines that come in and do work. And having a concrete sidewalk is a higher maintenance aspect for us to maintain than just a DG.
Oh yeah, I don't think a sidewalk would be appropriate.
We have a hardscape sidewalk on the opposite side of the street, so this gives another option. There is a gap, as you pointed out, between the edge of this property line and the return at the access to the Clayton Community Park. We are as the city managers pointed out, we do have grant applications that we've been seeking through the state, through some of the park improvement funds. And this is an aspect of a gap closure that would qualify when we don't have a lot of other things that would qualify for those funds. So we are looking to see where we can close that gap through an upcoming grant cycle from the state parks bond monies.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know how feasible it is to go even east to the edge of city limits, but probably not.
It's off their property boundary and there is no development out there. And as Mr. Moita pointed out, you do have a slope condition there that would require extensive grading to deal with that. And I think, I can't remember which council member serves on the East County Habitat Conservation Group, but there is also some very long range visions about doing a trail connection from further out in East County all the way in through Clayton, through various properties that front along Marsh Creek Road that the county's undertaking a master plan for.
Right.
Well, it's worth a shot.
Well, Mayor, you do have a hand up from the developer who may want to respond to that question.
We can let our developers back in again.
Are they? I don't see them. Oh, they're there. They're at the top.
Oh, yes, they're there. Speak up.
Yeah, through the chair. Just wanted to address that. Yeah, I mean, understanding that there is a desire to do a connection to the west. One of the issues we have is we don't know. I assume it's the city right away, but as long as there's no right of way acquisition requirements burdened upon us, and in the event that the city doesn't timely get funding for that connection, we wouldn't be opposed to that being a condition of our project to extend that DG path to the west. Specifically, just also, we're going to have residents in our project, and we would want them to be able to, from a pedestrian standpoint, access the city. So it sounds like there are possibly some funding sources, but if those don't come to fruition, we'd go ahead and extend that path as long as we don't have to acquire any right away from third parties to do so.
And just to clarify for the record, that's all city-owned right-of-way or city-owned parcels. So there is no issue with private parties.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me comment.
So in your opinion, then that would offer the residents of this proposed development to at least walk to the community park, because that's right now the extent of.
Yeah. If they could walk to the community park, they could walk everywhere.
Right. No, and that's what I want to be clear on, just to make sure.
Great. Any other discussion? It's quite a packet. Got to have some questions.
War and peace, I call it.
It was a long weekend. Okay, so motions. Yes, go Holly. Yes.
I just have one more quick one for staff, because it was a really, really large packet. So can we go back over? I don't want to keep beating this poor Salt Brush Lane or whatever the street is, but in conjunction with the Marsh Creek Road specific plan, and whether or not it's going to be the 32 feet versus building or paving for 24, what does the plan say?
Plan says 48 feet, right?
Yes. So the plan calls for a 48-foot right of way in total, with a 32-foot paved curb to curb road, with a sidewalk on one side and landscaping on the other. What the developers proposing is the sidewalk on the one side and a 24-foot paved curb to curb. And then the remainder would be graded, as we've recommended it be conditioned, and landscaped.
And we are within our rights to do that. And that's conforming with the Marsh Creek Road specific plan.
The ultimate right of way is what's really important.
Okay.
Because we don't want to have to go back and acquire that right of way from those adjacent property owners. Okay. And they are proposing to dedicate that right of way now. The roadway can be widened within that ultimate 48-foot width.
Okay.
And the other important thing to point out on that, Councilmember Tillman, is they're also doing the grading within that right of way, so that they did have one alternative that showed that they were not going to do the grading. And then they did propose an alternative where they would do the grading, so that it would be pretty much set for ultimate expansion of that additional asphalt. And there are conditions that address adjusting any of the landscaping in that area, as well as notification and restrictions to the lot owner of Lot 6 to be aware that those plants are temporary possibly in nature, and that the road would be modified, and that homeowner of Lot 6 also does not extend their own private landscaping into that area, which could cause complications in the future. So that there's information that would be included on the appropriate deeds and documents and CC&Rs for the HOA at the appropriate time. Those are covered by conditions of approval.
Okay.
If I could also clarify that condition 77, which talks about the street, there is a modification that I wanted to make that unfortunately didn't make it into the packet. There are two references to warranty bonds in that condition, and the reference really should be to a performance bond, letter of credit, or certificate of deposit for the full value of the work. So I would recommend those two references in condition 77 to warranty bonds be revised.
Okay, and can you repeat what it's going to be revised to, Mullen?
Instead of warranty bond, it would say performance bond, letter of credit, or certificate of deposit for the full value of the work.
What distinction are you, what distinction are you making?
I was just going to say a warranty bond is, if the work is already done and it's warranting the work. Here, the work is not being done. We want to guarantee performance should those criteria be met. So that's just the distinction. I think the intent is the same. It's a different type of bond.
Got a question quickly, as I'm trying to figure this out a little bit. If I heard correctly, and I think I did, there was almost an agreement that would have happened. Almost an agreement. I'm just call it almost agreement. And if I heard correctly, the agreement would have included financing or some type of arrangement to extend the road from 24 to 32 feet. That was what was alleged by Mr. Moita. If that agreement had been signed yesterday, and this is again, it's hypothetical. Would this be a different conversation about the plan? Just out of curiosity.
I'm not sure that anything would have changed. I think, it would have just condition 77 provides for the ability for the ultimate 32-foot road to be built if within a certain period of time, the application comes forward from the adjacent parcel. So I don't think there would be any difference here.
So we're sort of talking about a 24-foot road, even though an agreement had been made between the two parties about doing a 32-foot road, correct?
Yeah, we're always permitting, as you've heard earlier, we're permitting a 48-foot grading to occur with a potential for a 32-foot road. So if a deal is struck, that can all happen. Should the city accept the offer of dedication?
And I would add to that too. The city has acknowledged that we are willing to accept a 24-foot paved surface for this project. If two property owners agree and want to make it bigger, it's still more than 24. So there wouldn't be an issue of non-compliance with our recommendation that 24 is okay.
Would that come back before us as a city council, or is that just part of all the conditions of approval right now?
The condition so it's not part of the conditions of approval necessarily, but it is drawn on the final map. The condition of approval is to require the minimum 24. That's the bare minimum we're going to accept. The tentative map does show a 32-foot. So if they want to do more, okay, it is consistent with what is drawn on the tentative map. It's just that I think the tentative map anticipates that, or it's anticipated that that 32-foot doesn't need to happen until development happens to the east. If they want to build it sooner, that's fine.
And so if it happens to the east, it'd be the new developer who has to pay for the additional 8 foot of road.
Well, that's the negotiation that we're
But
talking
it's
about.
not us.
No, it is not the city.
Okay. And there was another question I had just a second ago when you were talking, and I just lost it.
You want me to repeat everything I just said for the last 5 minutes?
No. It'll come to me in a second. Sorry.
Oh, where are we?
I have it really quickly. For fire trucks, because I can't find it in this document. What's the minimum amount? I'm assuming it's got to be 24 feet less. Okay.
20 feet.
Thank you.
And with red curb.
Okay, so that being said, do we have a motion? And how do we make this motion? Do we need to say as amended or with yep? Okay. Someone want to make a motion or?
Mala, can they do it in a single motion for all of the many resolutions?
They can if it seems like it may be unanimous.
Okay.
One is an ordinance, I recall, what you need to do by title and waiving for the reading, or?
As the recommendation, I think already says, yeah.
Is there a documented recommendation here? Hold on. Recommendation. No, there's no recommendation.
In the staff report? The
Hold
title
on.
of the staff report should give you the full, because I rewrote the title to include everything.
Isn't it in the agenda?
Yeah, it's the first page of the staff report has the recommendations. It's 1 through 5.
That's exactly where it is.
Right, it's 1 through 5, and I think you want to amend the conditions of approval to add the extension of that DG pathway and then the modification.
I can run through those real quickly for the record. The 3 items that I heard discussed was condition number 77 being modified regarding the bond to represent the language that the city attorney provided into the record verbally tonight. Condition number 105, it would be clarified so that it indicates that the utility easement would be of the width to accommodate the future of the properties to the east. And a new condition number 129 that was offered by the developer, which would be to extend the DG path to the west to the community park and make that connection if the city's not able to timely or financially obtain that in terms of that connectivity. And those were the only 3 I heard raised by the council tonight.
Okay. Any other clarifications? Anybody need anything else?
Okay.
All right.
And I would make a motion that we adopt the attached resolution adopting the Oak Creek Canyon Residential Plan Development. Number 1. Number 2, adopt the attached resolution amending the Clayton General Plan land use designation of the project site. Number 3, adopt the attached resolution amending the Marsh Creek Road specific plan land use designation of the project site. Number 4, introduce and waive the first reading of the attached ordinance amending the City of Clayton zoning map classification for the project site. And number 5, adopt the attached resolution approving the vesting tentative map, development review permit, and tree removal permit for the project with the amendments to, as Ms. Hoffmeister indicated, for number 77 regarding the warranty bond to be updated the language to reflect a letter of credit or the other 3 things that you said.
Performance bond.
Performance bond. I know what a letter of credit is, so that's why it came to mind. Number 105 for the utilities to provide for future utilization, and number 129 with the DG extension out on the north side of Marsh Creek out to the west towards Regency Drive.
Second, Jim Diaz.
So we have a first Juan, second Diaz, and now Janet.
Councilmember Diaz.
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman.
Aye.
Councilmember Juan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf.
Aye. Okay, that passes, and thank you all. Okay, moving on now to, what do we got? Action items. Consideration A is a consideration of resolution authorizing an appeal of Clayton's regional housing needs assessment allocation.
Point of order here. Can we do like a 2-minute recess? Maybe
Sure.
3-minute recess.
Sure. Okay.
Or
Make it 5.
5 is fine.
All right. 5-minute recess, and we will get back at 10 o'clock. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay. We are all back together. Okay. And we're going to reconvene here our city council meeting with action items, starting with a consideration of a resolution authorizing an appeal of Clayton's regional housing needs assessment allocation, and our city manager will do the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'm actually going to run through it fairly quickly because it's kind of late. And
is this a picture of what they
I'll
want
just
Clayton
run
to
through
look?
it and y'all can just ask me questions at the end, but I do want to just kind of give a little bit of background on this because it is such a major issue for us.
Is this a picture of what they want Clayton to look like? Right.
So background on RENA. So yes, Clayton is going to look like a slide with a lot of text on it. No, just kidding. So you all probably know the background behind the regional housing needs assessment process. Every 8 years, the state comes through and allocates a total number of units across the state, typically by council of government area. For us, it comes through ABAG, Association of Bay Area Governments. And so each jurisdiction has to update the housing element of our general plan to accommodate these regional housing needs assessment allocations that comes through. We're currently in what's referred to as the 5th cycle, which ends at the end of 2022. The 6th cycle begins at the beginning of 2023 and runs through 2031. So statutory objectives of the RENA process really focuses on production of housing, infill development, and kind of running to the bottom there, affirmatively furthering fair housing. This is something that has come up a lot more in the last several years and really is a focus for the RENA process. So what's new this time for the RENA process? Greater emphasis, as I just said, on social equity, much higher total regional housing need, expanded HCD oversight, more factors to consider, and new requirements for identifying eligible sites for housing elements. So the primary steps, we're midway through this process between draft allocation, final allocation, and then by January 2023, we must complete our local housing element update. So very briefly, this was the process to get kind of from where the state started handing down the numbers to the region, and the work that ABAG did through the Housing Methodology Committee. A significant adjustment, and I'll come back to this in a minute, was made in January of this year related to an equity adjustment as part of the draft RENA methodology. And then the ABAG Executive Board approved those draft allocations in May, and those were sent to the cities. This chart is really, really busy. The one thing I really want to, I know Holly's looking at it like it makes craziness. The one thing I really want to focus here is, this is just a picture of how we get from the ABAG region number of 441,176 units down ultimately to units for an individual jurisdiction. The thing that has made the biggest difference probably for Clayton is what shows up in the sort of almost olivey green boxes, and that is access to high opportunity areas. So a high opportunity area is one that is typically higher income, it has better schools, better health outcomes, etc. And so there's an explicit equity intent to push units toward high opportunity areas. You'll notice right next to it that it talks about proximity to jobs, either by auto or by transit, but particularly for the very low and low income, but also to some degree even for the other units, this access to high opportunity areas makes a significant difference in the number of units allocated for certain jurisdictions. Clayton is considered a high opportunity area. And so our numbers in terms of, if you just look, we're maybe 0.1% of the population of the ABAG region, but our number is scaled up in terms of kind of the anticipated units because of this equity adjustment. So that ends up with us with a RENA allocation of 570 units. This compares to 141 units in the last RENA cycle. So that is nearly a 400% increase for us. That is significantly more than the average increase across the Bay Area, which is about 135%. So certainly a very significant increase for us. There is a process to appeal the RENA allocation. We need to apply within 45 days, July 9th. Then there's a comment period and then a public hearing process in front of ABAG. So here's the rest of that timeline. The process would complete by the end of the year. There are relatively narrow criteria for what can be used as a basis for appeal. That ABAG failed to consider information submitted in the local jurisdiction survey. So what information did we provide them about our city? ABAG did not determine the jurisdiction's allocation in accordance with its adopted methodology and in a manner that furthers and does not undermine the RENA objectives. And that's kind of the key piece for us, is that there are some things underlying the RENA objectives that our allocation frustrates and does not support, or a significant and unforeseen change in circumstances has occurred in the local jurisdiction. Everybody's, barking COVID, COVID, COVID. Well, that's not going to help our appeal because that is equivalent for all of us, I think, in that process. So there are some requirements about we have to provide adequate documentation. We have to say why the revision is necessary. And then the fourth point on this particular slide, be consistent with and not to the detriment of the development pattern in Plan Bay Area. So Plan Bay Area is the current process is developing Plan Bay Area 2050. So that's looking at what growth patterns, jobs, et cetera, look like in the Bay Area anticipated between now and 2050. And that's an important component for us in terms of a potential appeal should the council decide that they want to appeal. Unfortunately, appeals don't have a very good track record, both in the past in this region or in other regions. Most recently we know in the Los Angeles region, this Southern California area of governments, there were 48 appeals, only 2 were partially upheld. Not a lot of change. Honestly, I don't expect a lot of change necessarily, but there is a process to go through to request where we feel there have been issues that haven't been taken into account. So there's a whole process for hearing the appeal. It occurs in front of the ABAG Administrative Committee, which is considered the final authority for the decision on the appeal. Here's the hearing structure. We would make a presentation. In the comment period, not only can HCD potentially comment, but other jurisdictions could comment on, appeal or comment on our appeal. So if there's a response, if a jurisdiction has had their numbers appealed by somebody else, then the jurisdiction gets to respond. ABAG staff responds, there's a rebuttal, public comment, and then the committee votes. So sort of a standard hearing structure, but it's pretty tightly constrained. An interesting note is that any units that are granted an appeal, so if Clayton were granted a reduction of 50 units in an appeal, those 50 units are then spread back across the whole region, which means we'd probably get a couple of them back again because the allocation would share them out among all all of the jurisdictions. So what are the potential appeal points for the city of Clayton? And there's a lot more information in your council packet, but probably the first two are really the ones that I want to just focus momentarily on. The biggest challenge for Clayton is that we aren't a place that is anticipated to grow, planned to grow in Plan Bay Area 2050. We are not a job center. We are not anticipated to be a job center. When you look at the Plan Bay Area documents, which are the foundation for the RENA process, there are growth geographies. So that means that's where we expect jobs to be. So we're not anywhere near a growth geography. The goal behind the sustainability, greenhouse gas, et cetera, goals, and these growth geographies is we want to put housing where there's jobs. So people don't have to get in cars or create congestion, et cetera. We don't have jobs here. We don't have access to much in the way of transit, and we aren't intended to be a growth geography. So as a result, although the access to we are a high opportunity area, so that access to high opportunity area comes into play.
Hey, Raina, did you define high opportunity area?
So it is defined by school quality, health outcomes, and there's a whole website. So it comes out of a state, where's my definition? Here we go. So the California State Treasurer's Office has defined high opportunity areas by, as I said, school quality, health outcomes, income. I think those are the top three, income, schools, and health outcomes. And so we are considered a high opportunity area for those reasons. Oop. That was the end of that anyway. Those are, I think the top two there are really the primary reasons that we would have to make an appeal. If the council wishes to go forward with an appeal, we would also identify in the appeal document that we are subject to natural hazards, Oakhurst Geological Hazard Abatement District. We wouldn't have a hazard abatement district if we didn't have a hazard condition or potential hazard condition there. We also have significant biological resources with the open space that we have. And we, one other point on water is that we are subject to the decision-making of another governmental entity, Contra Costa Water District. We don't make, our council doesn't control our own water destiny. So that's a pretty minor issue, but we would include that as part of the discussion.
Do we include something about fire risk as well?
You just, interestingly enough, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for that, but interestingly enough, you just saw the fire hazard map in the presentation from the Oak Creek Canyon developer. And oddly enough, we are not a high fire hazard severity zone. So we don't actually have that to make as an argument.
I don't know if I believe that map, but okay, it's written down.
I know. I mean, if I could, one of the criteria for making an appeal, it sort of has to be based on, provable data. And the only data we have are that CAL FIRE map, and the CAL FIRE map says no.
And a couple of years ago, when I was working with the neighborhood watch people and CERT and all of that, we had a presentation by CAL FIRE, and they assured us we were not in a high fire zone.
Yeah, I moved here. I've been in Clayton for a while, but I moved to my current house, and that year Mount Diablo caught on fire, and it looked like Mordor.
I remember.
My neighbors behind me evacuated a different year because of a fire after the Lightning Complex fires. But we're not in a fire zone, so that's cool. Oh.
I don't disagree with you. I feel it as I drive around with the Berry Brown Hills, but I don't think that we have persuasive data to provide. If we
I get you. I get you. I just I think that's a crock, but okay, we'll go with it.
It's a published crock. No, I'm just kidding.
It's written down.
So ultimately, the decision is for the council about whether or not to file an appeal. Much of the work to prepare an appeal has been completed. That's the work that you saw in your packet. There is additional work that would still be required to finalize the appeal, as well as to go through the appeal process. That would involve my time. I have had some assistance from MIG, our housing element update consultant, because they're familiar with our data. So they have provided some assistance via that project. And Dana has been very nicely looking over my shoulder and helping me keep on track with that as well. But it is not without cost to move forward in the appeal process, because we do need to invest the time and effort to go through it. But with that, I would be happy to answer any questions or if there's any public comment.
Can you ballpark the cost that has not yet been spent that may be spent going forward should we proceed?
So the vast majority of it is staff time, and I have not tried to figure out the number of hours it might take. And
okay, so let's table sunk costs, because those are kind of built-in costs. You know, salary costs are, you're just talking opportunity costs. I'm talking about like out of pocket.
So it really depends on how much more assistance I need from MIG or from Dana. MIG, we've been able to use some of their data analysis work that they were needed to do anyway in the housing element update, evaluating our current housing element to prepare this. But they're, I honestly don't know how much more in terms of hours, but you know, if it's say another 20 to 40 hours, and we're talking at about you know, $150 to $175 an hour, if we look at either TRC, Dana's company, or MIG, then you're asking me after 10 p.m. to do math in my head. But
$6,000. $6,000.
Yep.
So sub 10 maybe.
Probably, and the time. I know you don't want to talk about that because it's not hard dollars, but
time doesn't count.
But I'm gonna stand up for my time.
No, your salary is just like me. Your time
right.
has a very low value.
You're salaried, so there's no time clock. I understand that.
I don't see any hands, Janet, for public comment, but.
That is correct, Mayor Wolf. There are no hands raised on this item.
Okay.
I mean, all the appeal.
So let me close the public comment then. Peter, go ahead.
No, I was just saying the criteria for appeal which you've listed, Raina, are all appropriate. And yeah, Jeff, I'm concerned about cost and time and effort of our staff, but would we be negligent in not doing the appeal? I think it's something that it's appropriate to do, and see what the cards like.
You know, the problem is that it's such a futile effort in a lot of ways. We really have to, you know, I mean, look at the statistics. There was a thing that came out today in the San Francisco Business Times talking about how surprised all of a sudden all these cities are that they're getting slammed with these big RHNA numbers, places like Lafayette, Pleasanton, Sausalito, big cities like San Francisco, and they're all going to appeal. And so where do those numbers go? You know,
well, it's a shell game. I mean,
that's it. It's going to be
precisely. Yeah.
I mean, this is almost a lever that they're using to essentially put us out of compliance so they could screw everyone over. I mean, you know, it's kind of silly. I mean, and we pay these people.
Yeah, it's silly in that it's almost impossible to win, as you saw by the other.
Well, no, 3 out of 8, dude. 3 out of 8 in ABAG. That's, you know, that's 37% right there.
Anyway, the question has to be, is it worth the cost and the effort? And the other thing is balancing the fact that we have to do this for our citizens. We have little fight in us, but we've got to keep chewing at what we can. So that's my position. I think
you got to go on the record. You got to go on record and do it.
How much of a quixotic effort is this?
Tough one.
It's really hard to say, but if we look at what happened in the other regions, and if you follow the process that ABAG went through, I think it's quite a bit tilting at windmills.
And during the ABAG meeting, there was one city that complained, just got kind of passed over. I think it's a very difficult process. But
how do we kill ABAG? Can we have all the cities stop paying them?
That'd be a good move. That'd be a great move.
I mean, they only function because we pay them, and we pay them very little, but other cities pay them a lot.
Precisely. Now you're talking money.
But is it Raina, if we do something, right? So doing nothing, then obviously we just talked about the sub $10,000 cost, plus the time, et cetera, of staff. But is it punitive if we pursue it?
Like, could they come back more than 570?
Well, yes, because here I'm playing.
They certainly could. Yes, they certainly could. That's what I'm saying.
Isn't it true that if anyone in our region has a successful appeal, we will get more units?
Correct.
Most likely, yes.
So whether or not we file an appeal or not, we will likely get more units. We will not go down. We will only go up.
I suppose theoretically that's probably true.
It could happen.
Yeah. I mean, if they grant a single appeal, we're going to get more units.
I think by not saying anything and putting it on the record saying that this is a problem for our city, I think we're more susceptible to get more given to us. I see it.
Like, wait. What's the thought process there? Like, what are you thinking?
So if there are other cities who are appealing and let's say they're successful and they're like, okay, we're going to allot it to all the other ones. If we're on record for appealing it, saying that the 570 is too many for our city for all of these reasons, at least that's on record with ABAG showing why that is. And maybe that factors into their calculation to not give us more.
Oh, to not give us more. I heard the opposite. I heard you say to give us more.
No. It's 1023 that could have come out, but that's not how I meant it.
Okay, sorry.
I think it's formulaic though, how they get redistributed. So
it's not a qualitative analysis, is what you're saying?
Correct.
The question is, do we want to do it? Do we want to spend the money on it?
I mean, it's a week of work and sub $10,000.
Part of it's been done already. I hate to put more work on the staff. They've done such a great job, but if we don't do this for our citizens, I don't know how we can't be held accountable.
Can we word our appeal more harshly and tell them how terrible this process is and that they should all feel bad?
Well,
we can certainly state our disagreement with the methodology and the
that it's a farcical nonsense, that it's a shell game, that they're trying to con people, and really we're going to soon look like Coruscant.
Janet, did you write all that down?
Hey, by the way, there was a hand raised for public comment, and you missed it.
No, there wasn't when I closed the public comment, there wasn't any.
You didn't open
correct. It was after.
I did open it, and I closed it.
I don't know. I was.
Could we have the court reporter go back and read that, whether he opened it or not?
I opened public comment, and then I said, "Do we have any hands up, Janet?" I don't see any. She said, "No." I said, "Okay." And then Peter started talking. I said, "We'll close the public comment." This is the record.
Wow, that was almost verbatim what you did.
Thank you, court reporter. I'll look at the minutes when they come out.
And you'll hear me say it twice.
Yeah, good.
I just think it makes sense to file the appeal and just and make an argument. It just
I agree.
I would, if we up for it, I'd move them to file the appeal.
I'll make a motion to file the appeal. Here, let me read
We already
it.
did.
Who did?
So Peter made the motion.
Then I'll second it.
Okay, then we got a first by Vice Mayor and second by Tillman and Janet. If you're still awake, you may
I
call.
am here. So Councilmember Diaz,
And I am awake, of course, and say yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Only to the extent that you make it more harsh and cruel, then I will say yes.
Vice Mayor Cloven,
Absolutely.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and then now we'll finish this off here. We got to what do we got? Adopt the salary schedule. This is item B, adopt a resolution of the City Council for the City of Clayton adopting the City of Clayton salary schedule effective July 2021. And City Manager.
So, Mayor and Council, this is your annual, or if it changes in the middle, you do it again, adoption of a salary schedule in compliance with the PERS rules, that we have a publicly available salary schedule adopted by the council in an action item, not on a consent calendar. So that is the item resolution before you this evening.
Okay. Any questions of staff?
Public comment?
Yes, we'll go to public comment now. We'll open that up.
Mayor Wolf, there are no hands raised on this item.
Then we'll close the public comment, and Jen can see that we've opened and closed it, and bring it back to council for discussion or motion.
Move approval.
Second.
So we have one second, Tillman and Janet.
Councilmember Diaz,
Aye.
Councilmember Tillman,
We're getting punchy. Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cloven,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. All right, that passes. And now we're going to go to council items limited to requests for future meetings, directives for future meetings. Anybody?
I don't know how to phrase this, but everybody sounds crystal clear to me, but Laura Hoffmeister sounds like she's talking through sweat socks.
Always sounds.
Can't we get her a microphone, city manager?
Yes, sir.
I have a headset I got from Amazon. It works really well.
That's the only thing I had.
Thank you for that. And if I might just add a quick note, we are coming up on the 4th of July. You do not have a meeting July 6th. We are working to continue to put out social media on no fireworks, no fireworks, no fireworks. We will, because we know that Keelock is a major overlook point in the city. So we will be signing, and PD will be closing Keelock at Keller Ridge for the 4th of July evening, so that we don't get a huge crowd of folks up there on the hill. There is a back entrance into the neighborhood, so that the neighbors will be well aware that they can still get in and out of their properties. But I just wanted to let you know, we'll be putting that signage up. And so when you see that or hear it, please know that we'll reach out to the community, et cetera. But we're going to do our best to try to minimize the problems that might come from that.
Certainly.
Are they still doing the show at the pavilion? I know they talked about a while ago.
They're doing the show.
So they have an exception from the whole banning thing, right?
Yeah, that's a professional fireworks, which is different from individual person.
Oh yeah, that's been illegal forever.
Oh, my neighbor thinks he's a professional.
Yeah.
I'll tell your neighbor to stop being a dumbass.
And on that positive note, have a wonderful 4th of July. We're going to adjourn this meeting.
No, wait.
No, wait.
Whoa.
There's something else. No.
I had a request for future items.
Oh,
we
okay.
Are on number 12.
My mistake. Sorry.
All right. Can we get? I know that this is not urgent, but I would like to get a staff report or talk about a ballot initiative for revenue, for a general revenue. I think that, now that we've adopted the budget for this current year for 22, FY23 is going to look like crap. And I think we need to talk about, what we're going to do, either more revenue, less cost, or both. And I know that we were going to talk about the overall financial strategy later in the year, but I think as part of that, we should be informed as to what the requirements are or process is, to the extent that we have a desire to go to the voters in a number of ways. So I'd like to work through at least the process so that we're aware of what the process is, should it come to that. And then I think earlier, so that's one. Separately, we talked about the PCI report. So I think having that, I'd like to have that included as part of in the engineering section of the city website. I think that'd be great for informational purposes, somehow to distribute that or publicize the PCI information.
Oh, okay. I didn't quite hear it. So the
if that's possible.
Condition index.
Yeah, I think just by way of information, that's good for people as a reference. And then when I think last time we talked about the executive order from the governor extending to September 30th for this whole thing that we're doing now. Is it our intent to continue this through September 30, or because there's nothing restricting us from going back in person right now, right? So I don't know what your guys' thoughts were, but I don't think there's any legal requirement or legal restriction for us to go back, because all the health orders have been lifted for folks like us, adults and stuff. So my question is, what was our intent there? If we intended to go through the full September 30, or we're going to go back prior to that? I'm not sure. You don't have to answer that now, but I would think about it. And then, kind of as a corollary to what I mentioned earlier about the CEMEX tour, which I think all of you have now done. One of the things that they asked for was after the comment period for the EIR, or when they release the EIR comes out, that we submit comments to the county with respect to their modified reclamation plan. So I would like to agendize that discussion about what types of comments we want to make with respect to their proposed reclamation plan after the EIR is released. And I don't know the timing of that, but given some of our meetings are missing, I think it'd be good to get that on the docket so that we can get in within the comment period as a city. That was it.
Okay, anybody else? All right, going once, going twice, going to July 4th. Have a happy and safe holiday, and we're adjourned until July 20th. See ya.
Thank you very much. Happy 4th.
Stay safe, everybody.